some of the stuff you see in 7-Elevens or whatever, maybe. Just need to be wrong.
All right. Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you all to our historic City Hall here in the great city of Holly Hill. I'm your Mayor, Chris Villa, and this is the City Commission meeting of March 12th, 2024. I'll ask you all to please silence any electronic devices that you may have at this time, and I will call this meeting to order. I'll ask Val to call the roll, please.
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson? Mayor Villa?
Here, and at this time, I will entertain a motion to excuse Commissioner Johnson for the same reason of last meeting.
Second.
We have a motion to excuse Commissioner Johnson for medical issues made by Commissioner Curry, seconded by Commissioner Danio. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. We'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. All right. And now we'll move to our invocation led by City Commissioner John Danio, and I'll ask you to continue standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Well, tonight we pay tribute to all the young ladies in uniform out there on the front lines of most neighborhoods in the United States and abroad. See, folks, without the Girl Scouts, sweet-talking their parents and their friends and their neighbors and their easy-prey grandparents, we would not have the privilege of enjoying those Thin Mints, peanut butter patties, or caramel delights. You see, it was on this day in 1912 when Juliette Gordon Low organized the first Girl Scout troop in Savannah, Georgia. What started out as a 25, 30 cent a dozen sugar cookie enterprise is now generating over $800 million a year in sales with over 200 million boxes sold. I mean, who says no to a Girl Scout?
Right.
So anyway, today is National Girl Scout Day, so I just thought we'd remember the girls in green. All right, let's pray. Father, we do lift up the Girl Scouts because it's one of the few organizations that actually have a wholesome and positive, lifting, confidence building, character building, and all that stuff. My wife was a Girl Scout. My daughters are Girl Scouts. I suspect my granddaughters will be Girl Scout. It's just in this world we just need all that energy and that inspiration that we can get from some of those young ladies out there. And I pray for all those in red, white, and blue uniforms that are protecting our country and protecting our neighborhoods. And God, I lift up this meeting to you, and I ask you to bless it. And most of all, God, I lift up our brother and our fellow Commissioner Roy Johnson, that you would just extend a healing hand on him, and he's a man of faith, God, so whatever you have in store, he's okay with, but I just felt like I needed to bring him to you tonight. So God, just be with us tonight and help us and guide us, and we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So caught up in it. Mayor, if I may, just a second. Commissioner Danio, there's also something else that happened this day 41 years ago. And that was, I married my wonderful...
All right.
This is the second time that I've had my anniversary during a meeting. Last time I got a big old bouquet, but I don't think I'm getting anything.
He's working tonight. He's working.
Well, he's working a little late.
And you're working too, so
But I just thought I'd give you that fact.
There you go.
congratulations,
Thank you.
Commissioner. All right, and now we're going to move to our presentations. And the first presentation we have for you tonight is a presentation by our wonderful principal, Mr. Vogus, and I'll ask that he comes forward, and he's going to give us a presentation on our Holly Hill K through 8 school. So the floor is yours.
Don't clap, I haven't started talking yet. No, thank you. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here. It is a privilege to serve as principal of Holly Hill School. It's been an amazing year-and-a-half journey. I'm lucky that I've seen several of you out at the school. All of you are welcome to come to the school anytime. We are there all day from breakfast warm at 7:15 until our final club and group wraps up somewhere around 5, some days 6, and now it's basketball season. So we'll get that out there to you. Anyway, that's not why I'm here, but I do appreciate being welcome here. I appreciate the opportunity to tell you guys a little bit about Holly Hill School. Do I have control of this, or I just Vanna you? Okay. I do not have to give you the history of Holly Hill School, because y'all know it better than I do it, and I provided a hyperlink, which we don't need to go to, but y'all have us on your page. We're part of the history of Holly Hill, which is a beautiful thing, and it speaks to the fiduciary and stewardship that I feel as principal of her, as I say. Where are we? This is a reality, folks. We're a C school, okay, which really is kind of in the middle, all right? We've got some struggles, we got some things, but I wanted to share the data, make it public. This is our target for the upcoming year, and it's to continue to be a C school. But if you were able to see that through my trifocals, you'd see that a couple more points and we're in B territory. Folks, today we took a district assessment, and the score we have for ELA right now is 42%. Based on today's assessment, our projection is to beat that by about 8%, so that our students will have the highest reading proficiency we've had in modern history, which is huge. Because for the record, we were called out as having only 27% reading proficiency, which is not something I'm particularly proud of, but it's something we're working on in Holly Hill and in other places. So I want you guys to be aware of that. I know you're going to hear it out there, you're going to smell it in the public, see it in the public, and I want you to know your school's working on it. That's what we're doing every day. If you could kind of flip to the next slide real quick. Hard to see, but if you look at the yellow line, that's this year's discipline. Blue is last year. We're still moving up as we go through the year, but notice we're behind where we were. All right? We've got fewer instances of discipline. The next slide will show you sort of where some of that happens, when it happens. It's kind of interesting. They say, what's your worst day? Well, it turns out it might be Thursday. But if you look at the next slide, and this will be yours, we don't need to spend time looking at it now. But if on the next slide we look at our attendance, and you'll see one reason might be our highest absentee day is Friday. So maybe we're getting ready for the weekend on Thursday, taking care of business, and then getting off campus. I don't know. Don't understand. Children, just love working with them. Attendance is something that we, like many other schools, suffer with. We need about 5% more. We should be at 95%. One of the things that you don't see by looking at this is it is the tardies, it's the lateness. That's sort of what gets us here. It's also the checking out early, not completing the day. So students get dinged with partial days, and that goes against attendance. The sad things means that really there are more days being interrupted than that number might represent, if you follow me. So we're going to work on that over next year. Next slide, please. Thank you. Your campus is secure. This is a very important message. Superintendent wants you to hear it. I want you to hear it. We're safe. We're secure. We have a guardian. We have an SRO. And Mr. Vogus got the fence fixed so that we now have a gate around our VPK, which, just for the record, took a few other principals, and I finally got it done. But anyway, we're secure. We're safe. Happy to have things on the Hill in a good place. Next slide. Thank you. What's the future look like? Picture's worth 1,000 words. It's going to be about young children. It's going to be about reading. Next slide, please. As you're aware, we went through a conversion. There was a rezoning. So, next slide. Effective July 1st, which means next school year, we will be a K-5 school. About 340 rising sixth graders, which means they're in 5th through 7th grade this year, will be going to other schools as approved by the district. Sort of an even line through our zone. They just sort of split. Half goes south, half goes north. Some of those students will go back to the school they were supposed to go to because they were on variances or what have you. And school choice will also help other students find other places if those schools don't work for them. So it's going to be a big change. We've had a junior high school. We've had a middle school in Holly Hill for most of modern history. We're not going to have that for now. But what touches me, and I think it's important to know for the record, I'm a secondary principal. These are my kids, the teenagers. They're going to get what they deserve in terms of electives, quality education, the ability to take career and college readiness courses. They're going to have credential courses, languages, put them on a springboard to the other high schools. They're going to be on a more even playing field with the rest of the middle schools in Volusia County. Board decision, gone into action. So what do? We move forward the best way we can. Okay, we're going to support these kids. Fortunately, I have good relationships with the principals at all the middle schools. We're making plans to have activities through the spring so the kids get to know each other, see each other, feel each other. So we're also probably going to look for ways to get the city's support in making sure that all of our middle school kids get where they need to be and get the services they need at the new schools. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. What does a K-5 look for? Well, we're really going to be a PK-5. Right now, our census has us just about 1,100. We've actually been dropping. A lot of our variances have been revoked. Students have been moving around. We're around 1,000 kids. Next year, we should be about 750 by the end of the year. All of those kids will be pre-kindergarten, Head Start, all the way up to 5th grade. So if we were to lose the 340 now, we'd be under 700. By the end of next year, we'll be over. But that is all growth in our programs and growth within the 32117. At this time, there are no rezoning. There are no other kids coming to the Hill except for our gifted program or our modified and varying exceptionality programs. So at this point, that's how we're going to grow the Hill. You can read the slide. Early learning is going to be our emphasis. Reading is our emphasis. STEM D, which is the STEM program with the design element brought into it. And we're also going to become a community partnership school in the 26th school year. We're going to go through the grant process much like Campbell did, and that'll put us in a partnership with the Children's Home Society so that we can then offer additional services, counseling, family services, ideally adult education, VOTEC, those kind of things we might need to help build the businesses and families in our community. My goal by 2027 is to be at about 900 students and BHAG 80, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And then most importantly, somebody gets to retire. Next slide. My why, I'm a big Ted Lasso fan. If you're not, go get whatever it's on, Netflix or something. I can't advertise. I don't know. My kids put it on. But he's got a great vision. I'm following the way he operates. My personal goal is to leave a legacy of leaders and learners. And I think I can do it at Holly Hill. I think I can develop a staff, a team to turn this into something special. A neighborhood school that Holly Hill deserves. We know the history. Let's create something different for the future. So I'm hoping everybody's with me with that. I've made my commitment to the superintendent. I'll make my commitment to you. I don't want to work much past 2027, but if Chief doesn't chase me out, I'd like to do most of it right here in Holly Hill. Next slide, please. We're changing the way we talk, what we talk about, how we talk at the Hill. We're scholars. We're on a quest for knowledge. We're not part of this thing called Holly Hill Fight Club. We don't do that. We read. That's what we do. Next slide, please. What's a BHAG? It's a big, hairy, audacious goal. Something we haven't had at Holly Hill in a while. We got one now, 80%. Earlier this year, the Chamber of Commerce called us 27 because that's what our 3rd grade reading proficiency was. Kind of a bummer, because there are schools real close to us that are 84 and 90 and 90-something, but anyway. So I had a friend, and we were talking about it. I said, I don't know what to do about this, and he said, flip it. And I said, flip it? And he said, yeah, from 30 to 70. I said, all right. And then I had another friend, and he said, that's not big enough. You got to go just a little bigger, a little hairier, a little more audacious. So here we go. We're going for 80 by 2027. Folks, if we can hit 50 this year, whew, that's an easy money bet. But I'm going to need help. I'm going to need the community. Today we had to deal with gummies. I'm just keeping it real. I need that guy's support. I need a community police officer on my campus. That'd be a lovely thing. I'm not asking for anything tonight. I'm just dropping suggestions. Next slide, please. We're going to get there. We're going to teach kids to read. Never has this been part of our vision and mission, So my big rewrite of all this was to add, Holly Hill School will teach children to read. Isn't that brilliant? Shouldn't that be the first thing we do? And I know there are people making fun of us because we haven't done it yet. And what hurts is they're a little right? I shouldn't be comfortable being a principal of a school that has a literacy rate of 27%. And it's not the kids' fault. So we got to do something. So I hope y'all are with me. Next slide. This is what we do at the Hill every day. We got safety and security going. We got good instruction happening finally. We got some smooth operations, not operations that aren't so smooth, but we're working on them. And most importantly, we're working on resilient relationships. If you could hit the next slide real quick, we're just going to bang through this. We got to have Maslow's before Bloom's. And if you've ever heard me say that, you're either wondering what I'm talking about or you get it. We remember Maslow from college or from wherever he talks about self-actualizing, moving up the pyramid, getting the thing. This is us. We all need this, wherever you are. Whether you live in a box, you want to make sure your box doesn't leak, right? If you live in a condo, you want to make sure your condo is not. Whatever you are, you got to be safe there. Well, what we know about brains is if they're not safe there, you're not going to get them into this deep discussion that Bloom wants them to do to learn, okay? If you're going to sit down and learn how to be a county council person and read the code, your brain has to be in a pretty good place. I don't know about you all, but probably with a lot of the stuff you consume, you want to be comfortable when you're consuming it and reading it and making notes before you vote. You got to be in a pretty good place with Maslow before you start thinking. And most of our kids are not for a variety of reasons, which is why we need to be a community school. Next slide. We're going to be brain-centric because that's what it's about. I can't talk about their moms, their dads, their family life, going to church, all those things we used to talk about. But what I can tell you is I know about brains. And I know what's good for brains, and I'm developing a group of people, a team of people that knows what's good for brains. So that's what we're going to talk about at the Hill. And that's what our kids and our knights and our scholars are going to talk about, is being brain builders, supporting each other. Part of that gets to the healthy body, healthy mind. And let me tell you, it's not just my kids. It's our teachers. This trauma these kids, these families have gone through, our world goes through, it gets on the teachers. It's sticky. We have to take shower cries at the end of the day to get over it. This will help. This will help them. It'll help the kids. It'll help the families. Help us all start to help each other. Okay? Next slide. Like I said, we got to believe. And I believe in the kids. I believe in the staff. And I believe I have the support of the city, which is why I'm here tonight. And what I'd like to be able to do is come back for the next 3 years and do this same thing and show you how those numbers are moving and show you how we made 80. All right? So I appreciate, what else do I have in here? These are just us, beautiful things, community acting. You can slide through this. You guys get this. You can take it home and stare at it later. Very important, bottom right, our Latin population, big time. Holly Hill is growing. We will be the Latin capital of the east side of Volusia County. The beautiful thing is these guys come to school. The lowest tardy, the lowest absentee rate. We have to have friends, we know that. We've had some great events this year. You guys were part of some of them. We have sponsors we've never had before, people who didn't know where Holly Hill was other than to pass through. They're stopping and they're helping our kids. It's been beautiful. I'm glad to be a part of it. These are the things that are happening. It'll continue to happen, and I hope you guys will join us. Thank you for letting me take far too much time, but they're your kids, and I want you to know what I'm doing with them, and appreciate the opportunity. If you have any questions, I'm here till you kick me out.
I appreciate that, Dr. Vogeson. Let me say, first and foremost, thank you for what you are doing and pouring your heart and soul. I know we've had countless conversations about your ideas and what you're bringing to the table. My hope, and I think it's all of our hopes, is that the school board doesn't move you around. I hope that we can keep you till your retirement, because it's important to have that consistent leadership that you show day in and day out. And I just want to add something too to some of, because you said you shouldn't be proud of the reading literacy rate, and that's a true statement. But there also is a responsibility on our parents, and that is why these kids are coming without ever even seeing a book into kindergarten. So just not too long ago, 6 to 9 months ago, I know you know that the city went out, we got a grant to help with the Dolly Parton Imagination Library to send kids, the underprivileged kids, these books and to just get it in their hands. Now, that's not the solution, because the solution is the parents need to start taking responsibility for their children and to actually read to them, and then the numbers go off the charts, as you know. So it's, I just got to say, my mom's a school teacher, as you know, kindergarten teacher, and I see what she goes through day in and day out. This is her 36th year teaching, and this is by far her hardest year. It is by far, each and every year, the kids come in less and less and less prepared. So I sympathize or empathize with you and your staff and your teachers. They are heroes. They don't get paid enough, and just do everything you can to keep lifting them up, because I know all of that falls on them. So we know we have good people in our community, but I appreciate the vision. And I just wanted to say that because I think that everyone there at the school has the right intentions. It's just we got to get everybody on board. And so that's where we come in as a community and community leaders to help lead those parents. So thank you for everything that you're doing. And is there any questions for our principal or any comments?
I would just like to say thank you. I know you're doing great things there. My 2 grandkids were there, so they moved out of state, and they absolutely loved you. So I appreciate everything you're doing for all of our students over there. You can tell how much you love your job and what you do, and I appreciate that. And,
Thank you.
And the school board better leave him alone. We'll have to come knocking on their doors.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
Not a comment. Can I just make an announcement of something that's going on at the school?
Yeah.
Because people will leave when their items are up.
Yep.
But Mr. Vogus talked about the reading program over the summer, and it's going to be called Kiwanis Reads. And it's in its infancy, and the Early Learning Coalition is involved with it. I know they've been meeting at the school at least once a month. And I'm part of the Seabreeze Kiwanis Club, and we're sponsoring this event. So anyone in the audience that wants to come read to kids in June and July, you've heard our kids are at 27%. They're not treading water, they're drowning, and they lose learning gains over the summer. So our goal is that we can help them tread water through June and July and enrich them so that next year they can perform better. With that being said, we got to pay for this thing. And so we're having a fundraiser. We had to push it back a little bit, but it'll be May 11th, and it'll be at the Copper Bottom Distillery. You guys know when I was the mayor, I pushed the 417 logo, our mile marker on US 1. The race is going to be 417 inches. That's from the parking lot to inside the distillery. It's not really a race. You're just going to show up, you're going to get a t-shirt, and you're going to give me some money. But there's sponsorship opportunities for the t-shirt. It's $100 to put your name on the back of the t-shirt. It's going to be $25 to come. There'll be a food truck, we'll have music. It's going to be a great event from noon to 4. It's a Saturday. So come out, help us raise some money. Mr. Vogus has acquired the funding to have teachers and to have, I know it sounds crazy, but we have to pay to have the library open, the media center open during these times. We have to pay for the teachers to be there. And so Kiwanis Early Learning Coalition is donating a lot of the books. But we're trying to get things to incentivize, if we do all this and no one comes, it's going to be a big waste. So if we buy kids ice cream sandwiches on Thursday, they might show up. If we buy them pizza on Tuesday, they might show up. We've learned if we feed them, they'll show up. So that's coming. There's more to come about that in the future, but before you guys all left, I wanted to let you know there's opportunities to help us help the kids. So
May 11th. What
May
time?
11th.
12 to 4.
12 to 4.
I got 2 things.
Okay.
My wife's a teacher, and she says the kids are just getting harder and harder, but the parents are the key. Like you said, the parents are the key. Got to just keep harping on the parents to stay involved. And the other thing is, keep my kid employed so she doesn't come around and eat me out of house and home.
We're trying,
All right.
we're trying.
Thank you.
All right. Well,
You guys are spot on. I mean, it's all about the community and getting all the people involved, so I appreciate the support.
Thank you, Mr. Vogeson. We are here supporting you. Whatever you need, just call upon us, and you know that our chief supports you, and I know you've recognized him.
We
for
have,
that, so-
I think the last time I was here, we
Yes,
were
sir.
recognizing him,
Yep.
and they are amazing community partners.
Perfect. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We appreciate
your
it.
time.
Yes, thank you. Take care. All right, so next up, we have a presentation, the fiscal year 2023 annual audit presentation, presented by James Halloran, James Moore and Company, CPAs. What's that?
Forrest, he's empty-handed.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
And the floor is yours. Just introduce yourself for the record.
James
And then-
Halloran with James Moore and Company. I'm the audit partner on the engagement. I'm actually going to let Chris Noyes do the presentation tonight. As always, we like to, as you were talking about before, teaching never ends. That's the major part of my job is training and development as a partner. So this is, Chris's opportunity for a little bit on-the-job training and presentations. So he's going to take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Chris, the floor is yours.
Thank you, James. I'm Chris Noyes. I'm the senior manager at James Moore and Company, and here today to just kind of go over the highlights of the annual comprehensive financial report for the City of Holly Hill for the year ended September 30th, 2023. So first off, main thing is the auditor's report, and you have what's called an unmodified opinion. It's the best opinion we can give you. We had no issues, we found no material errors or misstatements or anything like that when we did our audit work. So that's congratulations again to Michelle and her team, and you've had this opinion for quite a few years now, but you can't take anything for granted. So certainly you want to keep the standards high. So the other thing I want to talk about is we have a couple reports on internal control and compliance. Basically, we take a look at your internal controls as part of our audit, and if we find anything that comes to our attention, we would let you all know. The good news here is there were no material weaknesses in internal control identified this year, and the issues we found last year, we found 2 material weaknesses last year. They've been corrected, so that's great news. Again, you have different levels of, and we look at internal controls and you're assessing them. Material weaknesses like the highest level, it's like the most the biggest issue, and you have what's called a significant deficiency, which is a step below that. And then we have what's just called, our recommendations, which I want to talk about that in a few minutes. We did have a few recommendations, one recommendation from last year that was actually corrected, so that's great. This year we did find that there was an issue with the budgetary compliance with the general fund. There were some transfers that weren't budgeted for, amended budget wasn't filed for, and so your transfers out plus your expenditures were higher than what was budgeted by a little bit, about $35,000. So unfortunately, because it's a compliance issue, it's like a yes or no question. Even though it's a small amount, we had to say that yes, it's out of budget, out of compliance with the budget. But we've talked to Michelle and her team, and they understand the issue and don't think it's really a big deal. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, though. So. The last report we have is the independent accountant's examination report, and this is just basically saying that your investments, we do look at those, we examine those, and that we didn't find any issues as far as them being in compliance with Florida investment statutes. Next slide. This slide just takes a look at the history of the general fund fund balance. It looks at the last 3 years, and it just breaks the fund balance down by the different types of fund balance. You have the non-spendable portion of your fund balance, which is basically your prepaid expenses, inventory. It kind of fluctuates from year to year. You have a restricted portion of your fund balance, restricted for certain specific things. In this case, mainly it's building improvements and law enforcement. In this case, $18,260. There's no committed funds. You had $946,000 worth of assigned funds this year, and that's mainly assigned to future paving projects. And of course, the best unassigned, which means you have flexibility to spend it on pretty much anything you desire. That went up this year from 5.1 to $6 million. So, and a lot of that increase was just due to increases in tax revenues and charges for services. Next slide. This just looks at the city's fund policies. This is based on budgeted expenditures and transfers out. So you have your general fund minimum 20%, and then maximum levels. So you want to be, in that definitely above the 20%. The maximums, if you're above it, it's not, it's fine. You guys are definitely above those. You can see for both fiscal year 23 and 22. 54% general fund, over 100% on the other funds. So certainly you have reserves, basically, is what this is kind of showing you here. The slide that you guys like to include in all this is just shows you the 2023 levy millage rates. And you can see that Holly Hill is 5.9 for the 2023 year, and you've actually moved down to the middle third, which is great. So you're no longer the top 3 highest millage rates, you're now 4th, so that's certainly something to think about. That's good. Some other governmental funds, just to touch base on those. One of the big major fund is your Community Redevelopment Agency, your CRA fund. You have $6.4 million of restricted fund balance there. That was about a $265,000 increase from the prior year, mainly due to the fact that the prior year you had Pictona. This year you don't have the same expenditures related to that project. There's a separate audit actually issued for the CRA as required by the Florida, the Auditor General, so that's a separate report on that. Again, no comments on that report. The other major fund is your Capital Projects Fund. You have about $4.8 million that's committed to capital projects. It's fund balance. That was about a $1.2 million decrease from the prior year, and mainly that's just due to more expenditures, $1.5 million this year, and some transfers. Your non-major funds, fairly small, little activity. Impact Fees Trust Fund, there's a small increase there in fund balance, $57,000, but there were no expenditures or transfers out, so pretty much just fees that came in. Law Enforcement Trust Fund, again, not a whole lot of activity. There were some transfers out, net $2,000 decrease in the fund balance, and no expenditures. The next slide just looks at the proprietary type funds. So you've got your water and sewer, stormwater, and solid waste. Kind of gives you an idea of the unrestricted net position of the 3 funds over time. So you can see your water and sewer increasing from $7.1 million back in 2021, now $9.4 million. A portion of that is internally committed to reserves. It's about $600,000 of that amount every year pretty much is considered part of the surcharge, the $3 surcharge. So stormwater is a pretty tight range there. It goes from maybe $2.3 million to maybe $2.36 million. So not a large fluctuation in that. And solid waste, again, your fund is pretty close to last year, your net positions, 3.2 to 3.18, so, yeah. Pension funds is probably one of the biggest liabilities the city has. Your net pension liability, this is all in pages 83 to 88 of your annual comprehensive financial report. It has more details on all this, but we did have the measurement date change last year, so that's why you'll see for your police and fire the same liability for 21 and 22. The measurement date is 1 year behind the city's year end, so it's September 30th, 2022. And what often impacts your net pension liability is just how well the markets did, during that period of time. And as of September 30th, 2022, the market was not doing so well, so your liability did increase substantially, $433,000 to $1.7 million for fire, police $75,000 to almost $3.4 million. The general, the FRS, that also increased as well. Nothing really changed as far as the plans themselves, but that's just kind of a result of market conditions. And, September 30th, 2023 will be the next measurement date for the current year, fiscal year 2024, and things have rebounded, so you'll see some rebound in those net pension liabilities for that. You also have your funded percentages. Again, this kind of goes in tandem with the net pension liability. So you see it in 2022, you were almost 100% funded for police, and now it's about 78% funding there. And fire went from 93% to 76%. General stayed about the same, about 82, 83%. You contribute as required by Florida law, what the actuary tells you to contribute based on, their analysis of, what the rate of return is going forward, what the demographics are of your plan. So, you're doing, the right thing there, and there's, shouldn't be any issues. We do also include the city contribution rates just to kind of show you what they are, the police city contribution rates, whether they're going to go up or down for next year. And so they're going to go down a little bit, 23% for police, 21, fire down 41 to 34, and of course your general is actually going to go up a little bit, 13.3 to 16%. But next slide. Just some other things to note. Long-term liabilities for the governmental activities is about $2.6 million of debt. That's mostly that's in the CRA. There was no new debt in fiscal year 23. And this includes what we call IT lease arrangements. There's a small portion of that debt, $129,000, that are made up of those items. For your business type activities, $5.8 million of debt owed. There's no new debt. You actually paid off 2 loans this year, which is great. And the leases or subscription IT arrangements make up about $1 million of that $5.8 million in debt. FEMA funds, Hurricane Ian, the debris removal, 1.7 million of your receivable of 1.9 million is related to that. The city has a policy, kind of a conservative policy, where for FEMA funds, if you don't receive the funds within 60 days of your year end, you don't include it as revenue for that year. So for fiscal year 23, that received 1.7 million for sure was not included as revenues for the year. It will be once those funds are received, given FEMA takes quite a long time to process those claims. And one thing just to keep in mind is your ARPA funds. You received $6.2 million, and you spent about $282,000 of that, which leaves $5.9 million left to be spent by December 31st, 2026. And I'm assured that there's plenty of projects in place and ready to go that will take care of that before that date. Again, thank you very much. We're happy James Moore to present this to you, and if you have any questions, let us know. And again, thanks to Michelle and her team for all that they've done and helping us with the audit, getting it done smoothly and really quickly, so I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris, and great presentation. I want to thank you and your staff for putting all the time in, and once again, thank Michelle, who is our finance director, for doing a great job again on all of the budget, and I appreciate you guys also taking the time to meet with us individually to go through it in depth if we have any questions, and we just appreciate it. So thank you very much. Would anybody else like to say anything? All right.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. All right, and now we're going to move to the public comments section of our City Commission meeting. This is the public's opportunity to speak to the City Commission about anything not on our agenda tonight. You will have 5 minutes to speak. I ask that you introduce yourself, and then you'll have 5 minutes. Would anybody in the audience like to speak to the Commission tonight about anything not on our agenda? Just raise your hand. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you have 5 minutes. The floor is yours. And please direct your comments to me.
Thank you. We're glad to be here. I'll just make one comment to the principal of the school and on reading. Well, we need to go back. History was mentioned. We need to go back to the McGuffey Reader. We started our United States of America. We started with the McGuffey Reader. When you learned your ABCs, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, on through it, every letter was hooked to a Bible verse. Every letter. Our country was founded on the McGuffey Reader. If we'd get back to it, people could read instead of the foolishness we have today and the bad reports we have today. So now I'll go on to why I'm here today. I have been concerned with our political system here in Holly Hill. Politics is in the forefront quite a bit. You're not the most popular guys around. There's been a lot said about term limits and people that have been in office on and on and on. Of course, we have it in Washington, D.C., when it goes on for 40, 50, 60 years. We're not quite that bad here, but we got to get back to a turnover in our city government. In 2010, the citizens voted to have 2-year limits. The mayor and commission quickly turned around and made it back to 4. The way they tried to do that you had to actually change our city charter. That'd be like the United States of America changing the Constitution. And so you each elected a representative and it was brought back before the electorate, and 4-year terms was then put in order. It was done very hastily and quickly, and evidently not too properly, because it had to be revoted on in 2018, and what it was done in 2011 to rescind the vote of the people for 2-year limits, they had to change that again to make it right legally. Now, I've asked each of you individually. I've talked to 2 members. I've talked to Roy Johnson, my friend, who has been my friend for years. He's actually the only commission member or mayor that has attended my church, Ridgewood Avenue Baptist Church, which is celebrating its 100th year. I believe our city is 120 years old. Our church is 100 years old. I've spoken with Roy often. We don't agree on everything, but we agree on the Bible. And he came to my church often. Of course, I've been in touch with him regularly. I'm sure you are too. Not much was mentioned here today about it, but he's recovering from surgery. And I've been in contact with him regularly, and of course praying, as I know many of you are also. He's a good friend of mine. I've talked with him and John Penny, my commissioner in Zone 1. The other 3 have not responded. Mr. Penny responded and said that they would not respond because they were afraid of me. Now, I don't know why Penny Curry is afraid of me, or Chris Villa, or John Daniel, because I'm not to be feared. I'm your friend. I just have a matter of opinion. Mr. Penny met with me, and we have a difference of opinion. Have any of you commissioners or mayors ever had a difference of opinion with the commissioner?
I'm going to ask you to wrap it up. It's been 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. I'm asking the commission to put on the ballot 3 things. Let the people vote on the 2-year term limit, not 2-year, 4-year term limits, but 2 years for each time you're elected, and elected each 2 years like it had been in the past.
Okay.
And I know Mr. Penny's views on it, who has been a
All right, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up.
he's been a 2-time mayor, supposed to term out at 2 times,
All right.
and
I'm
he
going to
wants
ask you
to
to bring
have
it to a
it
close.
3.
Thank you. It's been
He's
5
gonna
minutes.
vote, he's gonna now go for his 3rd term.
Thank you very much. We hear you. You want
Okay.
term limits to be changed.
What I'd like to know is if you'd like to talk about it, because
Thank you.
just he has.
This is
And
public
Mr.
comments, and the public is allowed to say whatever they would like, but we don't respond right now. So thank you very
Okay.
much. All
Will
right.
you be responding to this at this time?
You can speak with us individually. Thank you very much.
That's been refused.
That's okay. I'm going to ask you to
That's
please
okay.
sit down now. Thank you very much. All right. Is there anyone else in the audience? Yes, sir. Come on up, and you'll have 5 minutes, and just state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes to address the commission.
My name's Mike Moon. I live at 1615 Tuscaloosa Avenue. I just have a couple questions. I just want to know the status of the RV park, if anything's going on there, and have a concern on the house on the corner of Flomich and Montgomery that's gobs and gobs of trash. And I talked to our garbage collectors today, and I said, you know, do you guys have to pick that up? He goes, we can't because of how bad it is, and they have to bring a special truck and everything like that. From what I understand, they're not paying rent, there's no electricity and everything, they're obviously not paying for garbage pickup. I just want to know if there's, you know, something going on there, if it's in the process of being fixed, because it's a big black eye on Holly Hill.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are addressing it. It's going through the proper channels. In fact, I'm going to bring it up at the end of the meeting to speak to the commission about. So, and our police force has been, I see all the chatter on Facebook and whatnot, and our police officers do a lot with a little. And what we can't advertise is what they are doing, and they are doing a lot there, but we're not publicizing that. But there are things in motion, just so you know. And as for the RV park right now, I think that's in limbo. So,
I noticed some people took it over.
Process.
it's still in the process.
Yes, I actually heard from the owners yesterday. They do have a site plan that is under review, and they had some questions regarding some of the latest comments that they received back that are engineering related, but they did indicate that they are still moving forward.
Okay, all right. Yep, and also too, I'm happy to talk to you anytime. My cell phone number's on the website, and
Well, I sent an email to the code enforcement about,
Oh, did you?
what was going on, and I never got a response.
well, call me or wait till after the meeting, and we could talk. You could talk to any of your commissioners as well. But yeah, I appreciate the comments. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Yes, in the back, Mr. Hanger. Yes, sir, 5 minutes.
Robin Hanger, 950 Ridgewood Avenue. I'd like to comment about these term limits. I own 2 businesses in this town, and employees and management is very hard to find, very hard to get. When you have good people such as you guys, term limits should be done away with. We should be able to run for as long as you're in there and you're willing to do it. If you're good people, why do you want to get rid of somebody? We have a good staff here. Joe does a great job. Brian does a good job. Our chief does a good job. You start replacing people all the time, every 2 years, it doesn't give them a chance to get anything done. Our city has moved forward in so much in the last 10, 15 years. It's just unbelievable what we've done recently even. So, term limits, I would be the one that would bring up unlimited terms. You've got mayors from other cities that have been in for, 12, 14, 16 years in places. The only reason they got out is because they retired. But nobody replaced them because they did a great job. So, I believe that the staff we have, the people that we have that run this city do a great job, and we should keep them and let them move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Hanger. Yes, Mr. Legary. Yes, sir.
Good evening.
5 minutes.
Jim Legary, 342 Burley. I wanted to ask if anybody had given any consideration or conversation to the bulletin board we mentioned last meeting. And I want to, I've heard Pastor Varga probably 10 or 12 times this is the very first time I've ever agreed with him on anything. I think there should be elections every 2 years. I don't know, I agree with Hanger about, I don't believe in term limits if there's an election, but I would like to see more opportunities for the general public to converse with the candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Legary. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the commission about anything not on our agenda tonight? All right, seeing none, I will close public comments, and we will move to the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from the February 27th, 2024 regular city commission meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from Commissioner Curry and a second from Vice Mayor Penny. Would anybody like to speak on the minutes tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. We'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Now we're going to move to our consent agenda, items 1 through 3. Would anybody like to remove an item on the consent agenda for discussion? The action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Unless a city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on anything on our agenda, our consent agenda tonight? Mrs. Heller. Ms. Heller, sorry. All right. Just name and address for the record, 5 minutes.
Hiya, I'm Heidi Heller, 460 Ridgewood Avenue in the future excellent city of Holly Hill. A quick question about number 2, letter of authorization for mosquito control low-flying treatments. A short story, I went up north years ago in the wintertime, camped out in a state park, only to be waken up by a helicopter flying the mosquito and spraying mosquito stuff. By the morning, I had a vibrant fever, puking up macaroni-colored stuff, and didn't know what it was. What is the name of the chemical that's going on here? How low is the plane going? I don't see anything about the name of the chemical. I called Mark Stanley, didn't know how late it was. They were closed, it was too late. Is it going to be on the calendar? Pets, if it gets in the water bowls, certain types of, you can kill a cat if it gets in the water bowls. And they're outside pets, outside people. We have enough problem with the mosquito control driving around through the park, which says 5 miles per hour, but the car goes 35. And they said, well, you have to have everybody in the park sign off and complain. So on this end, the plane, what's the name of the chemical, so I could look, and can you hold off until, you have April 15th, it looks like, for the deadline. Can you hold off a little bit while I research the chemical so I can protect myself?
Thank you very much, Heidi. Yes. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on anything on the consent agenda tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda, items 1 through 3 by Vice Mayor Penny, a second from Commissioner Danio. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. And Mrs. Heller, you can contact the Volusia County Mosquito Control Director. They'll be able to inform you that all of it is safe, but the county runs that program, so get a hold of them, and they'll tell you exactly when they're going to spray. This is just authority to do it for the next couple years. All right, now we're going to move to our regular agenda tonight, which our first item is Resolution 2024-R-14. Mr. Secretary.
Resolution number 2024-R-14 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, rejecting all bids for the construction of lift station number 4, authorizing the city manager to execute change order number 2 for lift station number 4 replacement project design modifications in the amount of $6,430, bringing the total cost of professional design services to an amount not to exceed $61,970, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for staff from the City Commission? All right. Mr. Walker, do you have anything to add?
No, Commissioner, this information was considered previously. It concerns the lift station at 345 10th Street. These are costs just associated, relatively small costs associated with preparing a rebidding of this work related to this lift station. So that's what this is in regard to, and Antoine Curry is here from Public Works if you have any additional questions.
Great. Anything to add, Mr. Curry? All right. With that, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the commission on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Curry for approval and a second from Commissioner Danio. Is there any discussion needed? I just appreciate you trying to save us some money there, Mr. Curry, so hopefully this goes well. So with that, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries 4-0. Now we're going to move to number 2, which is a request for a code enforcement lien reduction on 144 Ridgewood Avenue. Mr. Walker.
Yes, Mayor Commission, this concerns a property that many of you may know as a Taste of Maharaja. This property is at 144 Ridgewood Avenue, and they had several code violations which had continued on for many months. There had been many requests to get them to comply, yet that was not happening, so code enforcement action was taken by the city. The owner was issued notices of violation, which were sent to the address on record with the property appraiser's office, but they were not retrieved. There were 3 cases that were filed with the special master. One case had to do with accumulation of trash and garbage, sidewalk disrepair. Another case had to do with doors in disrepair, decorative features in disrepair, and then a third case had to do with operating a nightclub without an appropriate license. So the order of lien was applied by the special master. There was also a fee of $250 that was assessed by the special master, plus $50 a day per violation against the property. And these liens were recorded in January of 2018, August of 2018, and December of 2021. However, at this time, all of the violations are gone, and the property is now in compliance. But the lien was never removed. So the total amount of the lien is $190,625, and this includes the special master fee of $6,250. The city manager, Joe Forte, negotiated with the property owner for an agreed-upon settlement of $16,726.64. This is made up of some direct costs, including some labor costs from the finance department, code enforcement, as well as the planning director. That cost comes to $706.64, and then there were fees associated with filing the lien, release of the lien, some fire alarm fees, as well as the original special master fines, and that came to $6,520. And then, as is customary, there was a percentage that was applied to the overall lien amount in order to come to a settlement amount. The overall lien amount, again, was $190,625. City manager took 5% of that, which brought the cost to roughly $9,500. So if you add the $9,500 plus the fees of $6,520, and then some of the admin costs of $706.64, that's how you get to the $16,726.64. So the recommendation is to approve the negotiated lien from $190,000 to $16,726.64, and this would be paid no later than April 19th of 2024.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walker. Is there any questions for staff from the City Commission? All right, at this time we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the commission on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I will entertain a motion for approval of the lien reduction.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Vice Mayor Penny and a second from Commissioner Danio. Is there any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion carries 4-0. Now we're moving to our public hearings. We have one public hearing tonight, and that is number 1, ordinance 2024-0-3072 for second reading. Mr. Simpson.
Ordinance number 2024-0-3072 by title only for second and final reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending Chapter 30, Finance, Article 4, Special Assessment to a new title of Special Assessment Code Enforcement Costs, create new Article 5, Special Assessments, authorizing the city to levy special assessment and outlining the procedure for special assessment to be levied, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Walker.
Yes, Mayor Commission, this is second reading for this item. It's basically an ordinance that creates the authority for the City Commission to levy a non-ad valorem assessment. The commission would still need to adopt resolutions for any particular type of special assessment for the specific special assessment purpose. Really what sowed the seed for this was a situation in Anastasia Court Townhome Development that will be coming before you at the next City Commission meeting, and we'll go into more detail at that time of what that arrangement may be. But that is really the gist of what this is. The approval of the ordinance does not affect any particular property, In order for the assessment to be applied to a property, the city commission would have to adopt a resolution specific to the property for which the assessment is being assigned. So this is kind of a blanket, though, that gives you that authority. So staff continues to recommend that the city commission approve the ordinance on first reading and direct the staff to bring the ordinance back. Well, actually, we're now at second reading. The recommendation is to approve this ordinance. Sorry, I'm reading the staff recommendation. Yes, I know. I didn't write the staff recommendation, so.
And it doesn't take much.
Yeah, so this is to excuse the confusion, the recommendation is to approve this ordinance.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for staff? All right, seeing none, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the commission on this ordinance tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. I think I got all of my questions out in our last meeting on this, so I'm good with this, and I will ask for a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Curry and a second from Commissioner Danio. Is there any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries 4-0.
Sorry, I was in
You're
the
good.
middle.
No, you're good. That was a affirmative.
Should not have
You're
taken a drink then.
maker of the motion, so we got it. All right, so now we're going to move to our communications this evening. I do have several things here tonight, but let me start with staff first. We're going to go to Mr. Walker.
Yes, Mayor, just a couple of things. The SISMA Brazilian pepper removal project is tomorrow from...
Not today?
Not today.
I showed up today.
Today, sure. That will be from 9 to 2, so if you're able to participate, come prepared. There'll be cutting of branches and putting them in dumpsters. I understand from the Vice Mayor that the dumpsters were delivered today, so we're ready to go on that. I did also want to...
Brian, can I
Yes.
clarify something? On my calendar invite, it's 8 to 1.
On the calendar invite?
It's 9 to 2.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Sure.
They sprung ahead.
I would have been really early.
It's 9 to 2 tomorrow.
Well, the Vice Mayor was really early. Okay.
Sorry about that.
They sprung too far ahead.
The other issue that I wanted to get some direction from the commission had to do with neighborhood meetings. Some time ago, we had the discussion of whether or not we would have neighborhood meetings for projects that propose the increasing of density. One project in particular had to do with Anastasia Court that will be coming before the commission at the next meeting. So we talked about that the need to possibly have the developer meet with those in the community prior to a project going to the Board of Planning and Appeals in order to give them the opportunity to hear what was going to be done, ask their questions, maybe allay any fears that they have, and get clarification. So one of the things staff did was began to look at what other cities did, what cities had such a requirement, which ones did not. It's kind of a mixed bag. Some do, some don't. There's all different ways of applying the requirement for a neighborhood meeting. One of the most popular is to require one in the event that you are requiring a density increase next to residential. Or if you are bringing something that is by its nature different. It may be residential, but by its nature, it's still different. For example, multifamily residential next to single-family residential. So staff has put together a proposed ordinance that can be brought before you. It would first go to BOPA in April, and then this commission would see it sometime in April or May. But I wasn't sure if that's something that you wanted to move forward with, or if you wanted to discuss it a little bit more, maybe see the proposed ordinance prior to staff moving forward with it. And so that's basically it. The question is, what is the commission's will with regard to moving forward with neighborhood meeting requirements?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Walker, and as you know, I brought this up several meetings ago to implement this, and for the public that's listening, it's an extra step that a developer would have to take if they want to come and develop a property here in the city in simplified terms, especially if it's abutting residential. So in other cities, there are mandatory community meetings that are outside of the responsibility of the city, but is the responsibility of the developer to hold that and with the community residents, so then that way they can give input early on before it even comes to the commission. And then some people, don't understand the full process of the way that these types of zoning or development projects take place, but then it would have to go to the Board of Planning and Appeals. It would have to get approved there with a recommendation to the City Commission, and then usually it comes back to us for at least 2 meetings. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, sir.
So the idea is just another step. I think that the City of Holly Hill, we have so few properties left to be developed that we have the luxury of being picky, and that we should care and want the input of the community and allow the citizens to be able to have a voice at the forefront, at the very beginning of the project, to hopefully maybe the developer hears, you know what, this is too much density, or maybe this isn't the right use for a property, and maybe they can change it well before it even comes to the commission. And then that way also the citizens are able to be more heard, and that way finally when it gets to the end of the process and it comes up to us, it's been through several different rings, if you will, that it has to jump through. So for that reason, I am in full support of it. I support it going to the BOPA, and I hope the BOPA supports it. But I know we talked about it as a commission, and I think we all agreed the first time, but if there's any difference of opinion, you could say that. Yes, Vice Mayor.
I agree with that. I was under the impression we were going to workshop it first and hash it out, so I don't know if we should work. BOPA's supposed to be an advisory board to us, so if you send it to BOPA, I think I'd probably like to workshop it after it goes to BOPA, and so we can talk about it, so we don't sit up here for 3 hours reinventing the wheel.
Good point. Agreed.
Because if we workshop it ahead of time, before it goes to BOPA, then it's our ideas. Let's let it be their suggestions to us, and then we workshop it afterwards.
Good idea. Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's not usually the way we do things, but it kind of makes sense.
Can we take their can you get an approval from them of a process? But then I know ultimately it's up to this commission, but if the BOPA approves that there is a process and recommends to us the process of which one we should use to determine these developer-initiated community meetings, then, as the Vice Mayor is saying, could then afterwards we can workshop this together so we can talk it out, make sure this is exactly what the commission wants?
Yeah, I can take the item to BOPA, make the presentation, see what they feel, see if they have any suggestions or changes. Even if it sails through with them without any changes, we can still come to the City Commission and say, this was recommended, it passed, and you can workshop it at that time, before it comes to you for first
Just
reading.
our city's so unique that
Yeah.
we're not going to be able to copy someone else's. We're going to have to mold our own.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a good idea. Honestly, that's what the Board of Planning and Appeals is for them to actually hash a lot of this stuff out, and give us those recommendations. So,
The ordinance that was created was one that I did. It is not just a cookie cutter from Ormond Beach or City of Daytona or DeBerry. It is unique to ours. So it doesn't, with some, for example, City of Ormond Beach is very, I would say, entailed in terms of the process and keeping minutes of the meeting, and having to actually meeting minutes are done, who's there, who said what. So ours is not, or what's proposed is not that detailed, but nor is it as lax, I will say, as maybe the City of DeBerry's, which is very, very, flexible. So it has been, it is something that was done with this particular city in mind, but still, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get it before BOPA, let them look at it, and then bring it to you to workshop.
great. That sounds good. You have consensus here, Mr. Walker.
Okay, thank you. The other thing, I'm not sure if you were going to bring this up, Mayor, has to do with the monument unveiling.
Yes, I'm going to bring that up, Veterans
Okay.
Memorial. And then the trash, the solid waste.
Yes, didn't know if the commission wanted to workshop on March 26, the issue of the solid waste rates, continue that discussion to get answers to the questions that were generated during the last work session. So what the city manager had suggested was bringing up to you the possibility, if it was the will of the commission, to do a workshop on March 26 to continue that discussion.
And I'm good with that. I just checked my calendar.
I'm fine with that, but just so the commission is aware, in talking with staff, specifically Mr. Forte, it's his belief, and I don't want to speak for him, but also my belief, that we are in no rush to do this, and it actually behooves us to wait at least a year. And so for that reason, and for the reason of saving our citizens and business owners the money from solid waste, I would like to actually, I'm willing to meet in a workshop to talk it all out if you all so wish, but I'm also willing at this point to just say that I'm willing to wait until next year to reevaluate where the market is going, to see if there's a better deal to be had at that point. That's where I'm at now, and I don't think that that's going to change from now to, 2 weeks from now when we have that workshop. So however you guys want to do it, I'm happy to meet, but I'm also happy to say, hey, we kind of got the information, we can just kind of move on. Yes, Vice Mayor?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we all left the last workshop agreeing that we need to increase the rates, but we weren't going to do it till the next fiscal year.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So then I share your opinion too, that I'm not in favor of making any changes to the contract until next year, probably after next year. I do see there's a need to increase the rates, but I don't want to do that now. So I'm like you, I think my mind is made up. I'd rather do nothing, do no harm kind of thing. I think if we do something now, we may be in a better position after the next calendar year to be in a better position to negotiate it. So I don't need a workshop. I don't think my mind's going to change between now and then.
And to add to that, we can't be in a worse position than we are now, because it's all based on the worst case scenarios. So,
I'm good with.
you're good either way?
Yeah.
What about
Same
you?
here.
Okay. Then the direction consensus seems to be that we are just going to wait off for now. We don't need to hold a workshop on that. If something changes, of course, Mr. Forte can bring that back at a commission meeting. We can hold a workshop then.
Okay.
All right. Is that all?
That was all that I had, sir.
All right. Mr. Simpson?
No comments.
Nothing? Okay, I have several things tonight, Commission. I'm sorry to you, Commissioner Curry, because I know it's your anniversary.
That's
so-
okay, that's
but,
okay. It's been 41 years, there's,
we only get to talk every 2 weeks up here, so I do want to give you guys an update on the Veterans Memorial. So Mr. Forte and I called for a meeting this Thursday to meet with kind of the people that are helping with the event planning, and been in contact with our congressman and gone back and forth, and right now the two dates that frankly they are deciding because of the congressman's schedule is April 6th, which is a Saturday, and April 8th, which is a Monday. And they did say most likely it would need to be April 8th, but I kind of implored them to ask again to try to get it on that Saturday, because I think Saturday you'll have more people to show up in the community. But I also think it's very important to have such a great congressman come and speak at that event.
I think Saturday, we would get more of a crowd
I do too.
than a Monday,
Yeah.
but
And the other option is that we do it without him, so here's where we're at. So Thursday, General Ernie Aldino, who is his district director, is getting back with me before the meeting to solidify that date, and then going to clear it with the event people that are helping, and then we can start to invite the families of the veterans who are etched in stone in the monument, and invite them, make sure that they're VIP guests. And for any of the public that doesn't know, for years we've worked on a Veterans Memorial Monument right in front of City Hall, right in the middle of the lawn. And it's very special to us, very special to the community, and there's 15 men that are on that stone that were Holly Hill citizens that served in the military, that gave their life the ultimate sacrifice, and so forever now they will be in stone, honored here at our historic City Hall. So we are planning an unveiling ceremony, if you will, and it looks like early April. So just wanted to give you guys that heads up. Joe will let you know on Thursday when we pick that date, and then we're gonna hit the road hard and fast. So if there's any suggestions or opinions, you can give those to me now. But
The only thing is I think Saturday would be better
too.
than Monday. I just think if families maybe live outside the area and need to travel a little bit, but I'll be here whichever day.
Okay. All right, and then something else that I wanted to bring up is a moratorium. I wanted to discuss a moratorium. We have, I don't know if you all know, but my first bank as an adult was Wachovia, because I pronounced it wrong, because I pronounced it Wachovia. And so when I was...
Is that a family member?
When I was 18 years old, I opened an account there, and because it was so close to my home, on US 1 in Flomish, and unfortunately, and then they got bought out by another, and then bought out by Wells Fargo, and now Wells Fargo unfortunately moved out of that location, and it's empty and it's for sale. So it's come to my attention that another, I don't know what the proper term is, Brian, but basically a weed shop or CBD.
Dispensary.
It's cannabis operators.
Cannabis operator is looking to move in there. And, going back to when this commission, when we set the rules in place, and we understand that at the time it was a decision of pharmacies and these cannabis dispensaries or nothing. That's what the state allowed us to do. And we decided at that time that we didn't want to take away the pharmacies or to ban those from being in the city. And so that's where that came from. But with that being said, what I would like us, if we are in agreement, and I have no clue because this is out of the blue, I would like to see a moratorium on these dispensaries. The reason is because there are far more, and it's evolving more rapidly than I think all of us would have projected. I know none of us were jumping up and down for that use, but it's a matter of what were we allowed to do, and we sided on the side of pharmacies. So my fear is we have, I don't know, 5 or 6 now, with 3 of them opening up suddenly, and that industry is growing. Now, the caveat to all of this is that just a week ago, last week, there was a sweeping bill that was one of the most controversial bills in the state of Florida this year, which was to actually ban the manufacturing and the sale of all of these CBD products with very small caveats in that law. But basically, it would undo a lot of these places. Now, as I understand it, I think that some of the locations that require an ID from...
That's the medical marijuana dispensaries. They have to get a license.
Right, and I believe those will still be in existence, but the ones like Deep State of Mind, I'm not sure about Fluent because I don't know their business model, and I'm not sure about the Wells Fargo property, but those may all go away if it's
Those are more
signed...
CBD than medical marijuana.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
Delta 8 products, I
Yeah,
think is what
yeah,
they call them. And so if that bill is signed by the governor, then all of that will go away anyways. But if it does not get signed, my fear is years ago, I think I was a commissioner when we set these rules in place, and for the public's knowledge, this was overwhelmingly supported in our community. I think it was like 78% to allow it through state law to have it here. And this commission obviously did not want to go against the will of the people here. And so, and we were between a rock and a hard place of to allow pharmacies or not. So this moratorium wouldn't take away the existing ones. What it would do is pause, and it would say no new businesses coming in could open up one of these types of shops or a pharmacy. And then in the meantime, we could have staff investigate what it would mean to actually not allow that use anymore. So I just wanted to bring it up to the commission and kind of see where we're all at on that.
Mayor, I need to clarify with Brian.
Yep.
Are we talking about the CBD, vape, Delta 8, the synthetic stuff, or are we talking about the medical marijuana? Because back when we did the medical marijuana, it was my understanding, and Scott, you may be able to clear this up, it was my understanding back then, I'm not talking about the vape stores and all that, the medical marijuana was, which the voters voted on, was either yes, we allow it, we can't restrict it, or no. So what has changed about that law?
Nothing.
Or are we talking about just the vape, CBD?
I think we're talking about two different things.
Okay, that's what I need clarification on.
What the law was with medical marijuana, we had two choices, just to make sure everybody, and this has stayed the same. We could allow medical marijuana and regulate it like pharmacies, or we could prohibit medical marijuana dispensaries.
Right.
It wasn't about prohibiting pharmacies. It was if you allowed them, you could only regulate them just like you regulated pharmacies. So you could not put regulations on a medical marijuana dispensary.
Which is originally what we wanted to do, if you recall.
I think so, yeah.
Well, okay, maybe not,
But if you regulated a medical marijuana dispensary, that same regulation had to apply to pharmacy.
Right.
But you could flat out ban medical marijuana dispensaries, and the decision was made due to the support of it from the voters that you didn't want to ban it. Well, if you couldn't ban it, the law prohibits you from regulating it differently than pharmacies, and the law prohibits us from putting a cap on it. You cannot put a cap on the number of medical marijuana
So we're
dispensaries.
not talking about a moratorium for the medical marijuana dispensaries. We're talking about a moratorium for the CBD, Delta 8, vape shops, whatever, I don't even know what to call it.
And it looks like there's, and I sent some information to Brian, and you have medical marijuana, and then I think you have, what's it called, low? It depends on the amount.
Well, you have the hemp, the hemp products.
Yeah.
So the medical marijuana came from the Compassionate Medical Cannabis Act back in 2014, and that really ushered in your era of medical marijuana. Then in 2019, you had House Bill 1020, and that really brought in products that were associated with the hemp, the hemp portion
And that's
of
more
the
the
cannabis.
CBD shop.
Those are the ones that have a lower level of THC. They have a 0.3 or below. The medical marijuana, you have hemp and you have cannabis plant. They're basically the same thing. But how they're synthesized and developed is really the difference. So ones that are above 0.3 are your marijuana, your cannabis that can get you high, and then you have the ones that are just hemp derivatives. Then you have Delta 8, Delta 9, you have all of these other products that have come into being from that. So it looks like the law that the mayor was talking about, which did pass both houses and has a very good chance of passing, would get rid of those items that are associated with hemp products, even the lower levels of it, the 0.3 THC. But this would deal with the dispensaries and would stop the dispensaries from coming in. Right now, we have the marijuana doctor, Green Dragon, at 915 Ridgewood. We have Fluent that just came in at the old bank at 500 Ridgewood. We have Vitacan that is at 1027 North Nova. They're also a dispensary. I'm not sure what the 1600 Ridgewood, which is the old bank, when the gentleman contacted me, he just said that he was with one of the largest cannabis operators in the country. I'm not sure what's going there. So maybe it's a dispensary, maybe it's another one of the hemp derivative-based businesses. And then you had State of Mind, I think Southern State of Mind at 1757 North Nova Road, and that is more of a hemp dispensary that does not deal with actual marijuana, but deals with the lower-level products.
And you got 2 doors down from the bank, isn't there a wholesaler or a supplier? The old Tropic Casual thing, isn't there?
That's distribution.
Yeah, but that's cigarettes. I think, is it?
Yeah, he's more vape and cigarettes.
Is that what that is?
Well, or CBD. I think he
Yeah,
is into that.
That's not a medical
as well.
marijuana place.
No, not at all.
So we only have 6 now.
So the moratorium, is it on both? Or, that's what I'm trying to
You
clarify.
talking about the moratorium y'all are talking about?
Yeah, the mayor. has
I don't know, but I would say, all you can really do with the medical marijuana dispensary is ban it, and if you ban it, the ones that we currently have will be grandfathered nonconformities, or say we need to adopt a moratorium to adopt regulations for them, but that moratorium would have to include pharmacies,
Okay,
because
because
our
I
regulations
thought
would have to be the same.
I thought we couldn't put regulations on medical marijuana dispensaries.
No, you can, but they have to be this, you have to treat medical marijuana
Oh, okay,
dispensaries the
that's where.
same
the
as
diff-
pharmacies.
Okay, it came in that the.
So it was either ban them, or you regulate them like pharmacies, but that regulation like pharmacies cannot include a cap. You cannot say there's
Okay.
only so many. So
And
that-
for
that's
us
for
to
medical
just
marijuana.
outright ban them now, after 78% of the voters told us they wanted it, that was in our city, not, I don't know what the statewide numbers were, I don't know if anybody remembers, but, but in our city, 78% of our voters, or somewhere around there, said they wanted it.
Yeah, and that's obviously a consideration y'all took into.
Right, so the moratorium you're speaking about, are you talking about for both? For the one more CBD that's popping up a lot more?
So, and let me be clear too, this would be a moratorium meeting a stop now, a pause.
I don't know how we do a moratorium
So
on
my fear is that if this
'Cause they may say-
bill, there's a multi-million-dollar campaign going to the governor to veto this bill. There's a good chance that it's vetoed. It's not a done deal yet. And if that bill is vetoed, these places are still allowed. The profit margins are through the roof. And so as a business owner, if you want a place, we have rents that are lower than Ormond Beach and Daytona, and we have a central location, which I always say is great for businesses. And I think that, my fear is I don't want every other business to be a dispensary. And I don't think that that's what we thought of as well.
Right.
And I agree with you with the 78%. What this would do is, this would put a pause on it, so staff could investigate it more for us, get those clarifications, whether it also takes into account the medical part of it. And then also, what I'm looking at is if, let's say we were to ban it tonight, right now, we just ban it. All of the ones that exist are grandfathered in, so they will be able to
Right.
operate. So people, 78% of our voters wanted access to it. We gave them access to it, and they have 5 different locations to choose from, and frankly, a lot in Daytona, and I'm not sure if Ormond outright banned it or not, I can't remember, but I can't recall of any in Ormond. So the point to that is I agree with you, that's where we all were. There's never 78% of an electorate that ever agrees on anything. And I think when you look at the medical benefits of some of it, every medication that's ever
That's
came out.
why I want to be
has-
careful with the medical marijuana side. The vape, CBD, synthetic, all of that under one building, basically. I don't mind having a moratorium and seeing what regulations we can do with them.
Is there a difference in the law, Mr. Simpson, between the medical and then the hemp CBD
Oh, yeah.
based? Yes?
Absolutely. The state law heavily regulates medical marijuana. And what I've talked about, so let's talk about the issues that I think Brian we kind of chit-chatted here. Medical marijuana. Your choices are pretty clear. You can ban it. No reason to have a moratorium if you're going to just say, hey, go forward with bring back an ordinance to ban it. Or You adopt
I
a more...
disagree with that.
Huh?
I disagree.
Why?
The reason why I would say a moratorium is we could do it faster to then
You can't do
stop.
a moratorium is a zoning ordinance. It has to go through the whole zoning adoption process. You cannot adopt a moratorium tonight. You cannot adopt one next meeting either.
You can't do it in the next meeting? Oh, I was told that that would be a faster process. And the point to that is because if somebody comes in and inquires, for instance, the Wells Fargo property, they get that into the pipeline, now we can't change that. So the faster
They would
we
have to
can put a
submit-
pause.
But your pause would have to be for pharmacies too.
Right.
You cannot regulate medical marijuana differently than pharmacies.
Do we have any pharmacies that are coming in? Do you know, Ms. Walker, how often does that?
We don't have any pharmacies that are coming in, and I may have given you that idea that it would be faster, and I think that's because what I'm thinking is, and Scott would know better than I, that a moratorium can be adopted and it stops right away the influx of any new businesses while time is taken to think about what you want to do.
To put into law?
Right, so if I gave you wrong advice and led you to believe that it's something you could do from the dais just like tonight, then I apologize for that. So sometimes with the moratorium, what it does is it allows the commission or staff to have the ability to stop something while you take the time to investigate it and see if that's what you really want to do. So from that perspective, a moratorium is more immediate than, hey, let's explore this, and maybe in 3 months we'll make the decision.
Right.
So that's to clarify.
But to your point, Scott, so moratorium, how long would that take if we were to decide tonight,
Well,
like, hey, let's...
to
put a
also
pause on
address
it?
your particular concern is if the commission directed tonight, we're going forward to do a moratorium on medical marijuana dispensaries and pharmacies. And that would have to go to the planning board. It has to be adopted like a land development regulation.
Okay.
Just like anything else. But we can also take the position that this is an ordinance in transition or in process, and we can hold any applications. So somebody can come in and say, look, we got an ordinance in process, we're not accepting any more applications until we finish this moratorium ordinance.
That's what we did with the fences on.
That's what I was just going to say, we did that with the
Yeah,
fences,
so we're
right?
saying, no, we're not going to adopt anymore. We can start we're starting a moratorium, and we can take it to the, I don't know, can we take it to the planning board next month?
For April?
Probably, it's no advertising required. We could talk, I mean.
Yeah, we could probably get
Probably
it
get it
in.
into the April, but it would be a moratorium of medical marijuana and pharmacies. We put a hold on receiving any new applications. Now, if we had an application pending right now, they would be in. But we say, look, we're not accepting any new applications till we finish this moratorium ordinance.
I'm not clear about why we're talking about a moratorium on pharmacies.
Right, could we separate
This
that
is
out?
because you can do,
Because the reason we're doing pharmacies is you have to regulate pharmacies and medical marijuana the same. So whatever regulations you are thinking of adopting for medical marijuana are applicable to pharmacies.
that's only if you're doing regulations. You can just outright ban
Oh, you can
medical
ban them right now.
marijuana and
You-
not
you can
touch
say,
pharmacies.
Let's go, yeah, but there's no reason to do a moratorium if you're going to ban it because there's nothing to think about. It's either you ban it or you don't. But if what there is to think about is what will the new regulations be that will be applicable to medical marijuana dispensaries
you-
and pharmacies?
If you think of it logically, okay, so the pharmacy and the medical marijuana are treated the same. So I could come up with an idea. The whole intent, from what I believe, is that we're getting polluted with these things. There's way more than anyone ever thought of. And we were told, you got to treat them just like a pharmacy. Well, no one wants to do away with a pharmacy.
Right.
But if you came up with a regulation where 3 miles long and you said, pharmacies have to be 1 mile apart from each other, you still have 3 pharmacies on US 1 and no more than 3 medical marijuana facilities on US 1.
True.
So that's how you could get creative. So I'm in favor of the ban for medical marijuanas. I'm in favor of not the ban, the moratorium, medical marijuana, and the CBD places immediately. If we can make a motion, I'll support it tonight. We go back to staff and come up, that gives us time to get creative. Because everyone, oh, you don't want to do it with the pharmacy. No, we don't want to do it with the pharmacy. But
Yeah, but that's also places.
how many pharmacies do we have in our city right now?
You're right.
Selling
Yeah,
it.
just
It's
a
Two? The one at
Seen 'em in-
Calagrande by Publix, right?
Three.
Yeah,
Walgreens
in
and then
the
the park
Holly
and
Hill
across the street.
Shopping Center, and
Okay.
then you have.
And then the one on Nova Road.
Healthcare.
You got
So we
Florida
got
Healthcare.
Florida Healthcare and you got
Yeah.
one Newark. So we got four in the whole city. We
Well,
got four legitimate pharmacies and 5 medical marijuana pharmacies. That's
And going
way
on-
out of
going
whack.
on 6.
Way out of whack.
Now, are they medical marijuana?
Well,
That's where
it's a-
everybody's getting them intermingled.
and
but-
well, there's another thing to think about, and I want to separate these. Medical marijuana is anything that has a THC.
Yeah, THC.
THC.
A 0.3 or higher. It's a low dose, but it's still considered medical marijuana. You got to have the card to do it. It's heavily regulated by the state. The rest of the products, you're not banning a facility exclusively, because there are a lot of places that sell this stuff. That's not the only thing they sell. I've seen them in Ross. I've seen them in Bed Bath & Beyond. I've seen them in numerous.
Gas stations.
Gas stations. I mean, so you're not talking about banning a facility, because you just can't ban a facility because those people then sell those products in other types of stores, but it's not going to be the primary product. So now we're getting into banning a product, which is different than what we're talking about, like banning medical marijuana.
And once you ban the product, they'll just re-engineer it and it'll be number 10 instead of number 8. And-
Or 9.
Well, I mean, we banned bath salts, remember?
Yeah.
And I don't even know if we enforced it, but we banned it. But there was like a feel-good thing going around, let's ban these things. because-
So how many of the stores are dispensaries and how many are
Head
the-
shops.
whatever
They're head shops.
the name of, I don't even know what the name of them are, but I'll say CBD,
Right now, we have.
hemp, whatever.
We have Southern State of Mind, or State of Mind, which is a hemp
That's the
product
CBD
business.
side.
That's the CDB,
Okay.
Delta 8 side, so 0.3 THC or lower.
Right.
Okay, and then we have 3 dispensaries. We have the Marijuana Doctor at 915 Ridgewood. One office is the doctor, and then you go next door and you get the product. We have Fluent at 500 Ridgewood, which is the black and yellow building. They're an actual dispensary. And then you have Vitacan at 1027 North Nova Road. Those are legitimate dispensaries. They're heavily regulated by the state.
The other ones are the hemp CBD.
Yes.
That's what I don't have a problem with
Right.
putting a moratorium on. I will not be in favor of the medical
I don't know that you can.
dispensaries because of the voters. I mean, they spoke to us.
Well, and the problem with doing the ones you're in favor of, they can go turn around and sell those in shop there, so they're not exclusive shop. We're saying, we're putting a moratorium on this type of use. Well, what happens if a 7-Eleven sells it?
So can we put a moratorium on the products?
I don't
We
know.
did
Wait,
bath salt.
hold on,
We
wait, how
put a
can a seven-
regulation on that.
How can a 7-Eleven sell CBD product if we decide that we won't allow those facilities anyways? I mean,
You're confusing two things. It's not medical marijuana. We're talking about things with 0.3 or less. So it doesn't fall under the state regulations of medical marijuana. So,
Okay, yeah.
and I understand, I don't know if you've read the law, I can send it to you. It's very, very detailed, the state law. And it limits how many, dispensaries there are. So they limit all this stuff. That's why we can't limit it. We can ban it. They gave us the right to say, we don't want it in our city. But other than that, they're saying if you're going to allow them and you want to regulate them, we're not going to allow you to allow them and then regulate them into non-existence. If you're going to allow them, then you're going to treat them just like a pharmacy. So however you regulate a medical marijuana dispensary, you also got to
And that's what
apply
our
that.
voters voted on.
That's what we voted on. So
The other thing we're
0.3
talking
or
about.
higher is state. That's medical marijuana dispensaries. Now we're talking about things that are 0.3 or less. And honestly, I don't know how easy it is to determine the distinction between those things.
Well, I mean, the 7-Eleven would
use.
only be able to sell that stuff. They
I would
wouldn't be
think
allowed
so.
to sell medical marijuana.
And
You gotta have a card.
I would
And
think
they've
so.
gotta be licensed through the state.
Right, so you're dealing with CDB ointments.
Right.
The gummies maybe.
Well, like we did with the bath salt
Vapes.
stuff. Can we do something like that with those products?
We can look into it. I don't know how many places sell those things, and I don't know if this has been looked into. whether or not they have ever been banned anywhere else.
Oh, they haven't been?
I don't know.
Scott,
Yeah,
We're-
Commissioner Daniels.
I think we're getting caught up in a lot of detail. We already have the ones that are out there. We can't really do much. What we're trying to do is protect
No.
the city from opening up any more of these
What you're
things.
getting confused with the two is, we only have 3 medical marijuana dispensaries in the city.
No, I understand all
The
that,
rest are those,
but we can't do anything about those. We're trying to make sure we don't get any more of those.
I'm in agreement.
So the 7-Eleven or the
I'm not
Citgo, if they're
talking
selling
about
all
the
those,
medical
it really
marijuana.
doesn't put any kind of a black eye on the city. We just want to make sure that somebody can't open the next CDB, whatever thing is. That's all we're trying to
And
do.
I'm
So
in
what is
agreement
our,
with that.
what is
Well,
our move to do that? Because we
Well,
can't
I
do
guess
that
the
about
issue
that.
is, okay, I don't know that it would be appropriate for us to say, if you do exclusively CDB, gummies, whatever, we prohibit you. But if you open up another facility where you do 50% of that and 50% of something else, it's okay. All of a sudden, that regulation may not make a lot of sense.
And the enforcement of it.
And
would
the
be-
enforcement of it's going to be an issue.
Yeah, the enforcement.
So,
Mayor, why
it-
why
you
don't we
know,
ask staff to go do some research and bring it back? 'Cause we're going to talk for another 3 hours.
I know, and the only reason I allowed it to be like this
Sorry.
workshop is just because I think that time is of the essence. So,
I agree.
and-
I
and
just
the
want to
only
be
reason-
clear on,
And I spoke to Mr. Forte about it, and it was kind of like, we don't need to bring it up yet, we can, workshop it later. But I think, that, and I talked to Mr. Walker about this today, I think there is a need for us to be faster, as fast as we can decide about it, being that Wells Fargo property right now is in the tunnel. They're good to go as long as they move forward with that purchase, as I understand it, that they can be a CBD company, whatever they want to be, because that's what our laws are now. We can't change it on them or else we'll get sued. But if, and this happens, I'm in real estate, it happens all the time, these commercial deals fall apart. And so if that falls apart, then if we can have this in place by the time they get the next buyer in line, that means that they can't possibly do that. And that's why I was thinking a moratorium, Scott, is because I thought it was quicker. I thought that maybe then it would give us that leeway to have the time to hash all of this stuff out. But
Oh, it
if you're
does.
saying it doesn't because we got to go through the
no,
process
no,
anyways.
no, it still
It
makes
is
it quicker because it would be done in about, by the beginning of, if we got a moratorium, April, it would be done, the second reading would be in April, beginning of April.
And
Oh, no,
also,
May.
going through the process, we may find legally that we don't have grounds to separate it. and to
I mean, you
what we
can
need.
do it. I just
So
don't want you to
moratorium
think that
doesn't
you
mean that we're
can't-
going to ban it. It just means we need time, and right now, we're not
Mayor.
accepting. Is that correct?
I don't have a problem supporting a moratorium on the CBD, hemp, et cetera, shops. I really don't.
What about in general, just for a pause button, if we have to do
How long
it
are we
just
gonna do it
blanketly?
for?
However long staff thinks that they need to.
Usually the moratoriums are like 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
Enough time for us to evaluate, come through with regulations.
And it won't take away any of the pharmacies that you're talking about, like the 3 places that are dispensaries. Even if we were to pass a full ban, those will still be able to
I
be in
just have
existence.
concerns about passing a ban on those because
That's why we're doing
How
moratorium,
the
not a ban.
That's how to
I agree.
that's my only,
all hemp products, and
you know,
I don't know how to write all-
reservation about it.
how to regulate.
But I'll
And
go
then all of
ahead
a
and
sudden you
support
get-
a moratorium.
And I
Some
think a
places
better
houses
word
just
for
do
ban
exclusive.
too in this scenario is that those would still be able to exist, so they don't have to
Sales,
go away
50% of their-
until they close shop.
Well, I mean, it's just- it's tough.
But, so they still have access to those 3, we're just not allowing more. So, but I
think
agree
the
that
large
if-
amount of what we're
banning-
seeing are the
And then the
CBD
question we
shops.
I think that that's
ban
where the problem
all
is.
hemp CBD.
So, I'm sorry, Commission, that I allowed this to go so long in like a work-like setting,
Sorry.
but I think, no, I think it's important, and I think all of our,
It's the perception. US 1 is our main street, and
Yeah.
I don't think anyone wants our main street to be every other one of those shops.
No, I don't want the
Weed
CBD
symbol.
shops to be all up and down.
Yeah, that's
But-
why the 7-Eleven.
But my voters told me they wanted medical marijuana, so,
It's those buildings that keep popping up that we gotta get
and I
handled.
agree with those. I do.
So then, am I hearing from the commission that we would ask staff to put a moratorium forward to the Board of Planning and Appeals at the next meeting? That's where I'm
In
at.
favor of it.
I'll support it.
Okay. All right, so we do have,
All right, so, and I think what we would probably end up doing is a moratorium, so this is going to be a moratorium on medical marijuana dispensaries, pharmacies, and the sale of any CDB hemp product, whether exclusively in a store or as a product along with other things. Yeah, everybody's just got to stop selling all that stuff
Yeah, and I'm
while
sure,
we adopt regulations.
I'm sure you would have to
No new
research.
ones. You can't stop them.
I thought we were just trying to stop any new places from popping up. We don't need to see any like.
That is the
you know-
intent.
But how are you going to stop a new 7-Eleven that partially sells it?
You don't. 7-Eleven is not the perception. People don't drive by 7-Eleven and go, oh, in Holly Hill, there's 7-Eleven that sells hemp. It's these other places that pop up that they're pretty obvious what they're selling.
The problem is you're saying that it's okay to sell it along with other stuff, you just can't exclusively do that.
No, we're saying we're not going to allow, it's be like
Good
opening a tattoo
question.
shop, and we have 15 tattoo shops, and all of a sudden, we're going to hold off until we get this handled. No more tattoo shops, a moratorium, no more fences like we did at one time.
Right.
Why can't we just say no more CDB dispensaries or whatever they're called?
Well, we can ban medical marijuana dispensaries. We can put a moratorium on them in pharmacies. The problem is, everything that you've talked about, okay, say you ban tattoo shops, hypothetically. Can't do it anyway, but say hypothetically you did. What happens if you go to a place that's a barber shop and does tattoos? Can they do it? 8 of their chairs.
It's a barber shop, they're a barber shop, they do tattoos there.
But all of a sudden, now you allow tattoos in one place, but not if it's a complete tattoo place. So when does it cross over? If it's 50%, more than 50% of the chairs do tattoos, then you're a tattoo shop?
Well, when they apply for a business, a BT, or what is it called, BTR?
BTR,
It's a
beauty shop.
barber shop or a tattoo shop or a
I'm
medical
talking-
marijuana dispensary, CBD, I mean, it's like,
Because it's two different, it's two,
Yeah, 'cause
it's
it's
two
regulated
business
differently.
lines, right.
So maybe it's not a good example, but it's, what I'm talking about here is the enforcement of this. And so we ban a place that advertises and says, hey, I'm a CDB facility, store. I mean, that's what I sell exclusively. But 7-Eleven pops up, and they sell the exact same stuff, but they look different on the outside.
I don't know if that's what we're
So
really
that's-
trying to.
But I'm just saying, but you're saying we don't want you to be exclusively that, so what is prohibited?
We don't want any more fences, like we had that one.
Well, that's easy. We say no more fences. That's easy, no more fences.
Why can't we just say no more applications for anything that's,
That's no more businesses that sell any CD products regardless of whether or not they sell something else.
And John, this doesn't mean this is what's going to come out. This is the moratorium right
Yeah.
now, which allows us to say no to any.
right, that's what I'm saying, that's what we want. Can we do that?
Yes, that's what he just said.
So we're gonna sell no more products, no more new business, whether it's 10%, 1%, 100%. You can't sell any no new business that sells CDB product at all.
Yeah.
Now, that also includes, just another enforcement issue.
Yep.
We don't know how many, do we know how many businesses up and down US 1 and Nova Road sell on their counter CDB?
We won't be able to enforce that.
Yeah, and-
We're not
We're
worried
just,
about
we're
that.
not going to be able to go into every
Well,
gas
It's
station
not.
Nightmare.
and,
You're
Yeah.
going to go to your chiropractor's office.
Yeah.
Sells CBD
Yep.
appointment.
And here's the thing to that. I agree, though, as we initially look at it, we can include that as a product ban. And then, as you said, it becomes an enforcement issue, and it becomes a selective enforcement type thing, meaning if there's not a problem in a chiropractor that sells some cream, then we're not going in there and to do that. But I think it would be fair across the board, because I don't want people cheating. I don't want us to say, we are not having a product ban, and then they open up a corner store and call it a grocery store, but really everything on the shelf is just gummies.
Let me ask this question, just so I'm pretty sure I know where you're at. You're okay with not having these CDB hemp-type stores, but you support medical marijuana
Yes, I
dispensaries?
do, because our.
Do you
voters
support
so
medical marijuana
overwhelmingly.
dispensaries?
Apparently 80% or close to it voted for it, so I mean, that's more of a pharmacy, that's not these other things that
No, I
are.
understand, but I'm just asking this
Yeah,
question.
I would say yes.
You don't want to ban medical marijuana.
No, because there are people that actually need that stuff,
So,
I guess.
right now, we have at most, we have 2 people who do not support banning medical marijuana dispensaries right now on this commission.
Mm-hmm.
But
But my opinion, I don't support banning them, but I support limiting them, and you've told me I can't limit them. So if I put a regulation on pharmacies that they have to be a mile apart, I can by default limit how many are in our
Yes.
city.
Right.
Exactly.
That's what I'm in favor
Now, I
of.
wouldn't mind something like that.
That's what
but
I'm in favor of.
I'm not gonna be in favor
so-
of banning medical marijuana dispensaries. CBD stores, whatever, I don't have a problem with.
Right, but tonight, we have to agree to put the moratorium on so we can
Well, can we-
investigate all
Can we
this.
put a
to make all of
moratorium
these
on the
rules.
CBD facilities?
Yeah, we're gonna try to write it so we can. I'm just saying you're still gonna have people selling it, obviously, and they're gonna be people.
I think they're more concerned about the appearance of the building
Yeah,
than what's being sold inside.
And the newer building, or new, and something new coming. We
We can work
don't need any more.
Well, keep in mind, you can do a regulation on pharmacies and say, we don't want any more than 10 pharmacies in the city. If you do that, now you have a limit on how many CDB can come into the city.
Leads over to the medical marijuana.
Now, I would like to workshop something like that.
So then, do you have enough guidance from us to start to take a look
I
and
think so.
give us some recommendations?
yeah.
All right, that's,
Now
you want- do you want-
give Scott a joint or something.
You want this,
oh, no.
He's gonna need it. Whatever they call it. I don't know what they got, but
Friday.
Scott, poor Scott.
you got a gummy?
Yeah, I got a gummy or something, yeah, wow.
Do,
Yeah, we're not doing that. All right, let's get it back. All right,
just one question.
excuse me, everyone, we're kind of losing track here. Let's
Just
get
just
back.
one question.
Yes.
Do you want us to take it to the planning board, get their recommendation, bring it back to you, similar to the other thing that you talked about, or do you want to discuss it first at a workshop?
I think we need to discuss.
I think we need to mold this one a little bit. It's
Yeah.
like Jell-O.
Okay. Well, what,
Yeah, because we're going to mold it anyway
Yeah.
if they
What I-
send it back.
right, what I probably plan on doing is trying to see if other jurisdictions, Brian and I will see if other jurisdictions, how they have regulated the things with the .3 THC, I guess, or less.
Yeah.
To see if other jurisdictions are doing, how are they doing that?
Yeah.
That would help us with this, and then we'll get the process going. We will, take the position that, hey, we are doing, we can't accept applications for pharmacies, medical marijuana dispensaries, or new CDB facilities, because we are putting a moratorium, we're in the process of adopting a moratorium, and we are adopting new regulations, so you have to hold all applications.
That's exactly it.
So,
Do you want to
Get a
do that
motion
on
to
the
that effect
26th?
tonight?
What's that?
26th workshop?
Yeah, if you're prepared by that time. Yes.
I mean, I'll see if I can get data on, I already know of some cities that have done an outright ban on
I'd rather
them,
talk about this than garbage trucks.
and I don't know if that,
Talk about that, the garbage truck.
if that includes, so.
Do you need a motion to that effect, or do you have our
I would,
consensus?
I would do a motion, just because we're going to use this as a
Okay.
basis for denying any application that comes in. I would make a motion that you direct staff to process a moratorium, at least 6 months, on medical marijuana facilities, pharmacies, and the sale of any product that, CDB, hemp
Hemp-based.
product, synthetic, natural, whatever,
Facilities.
facilities with, even though it's less than .3 or less of THC. All those new facilities and new product sales are, a moratorium goes into effect. And so,
All right, we have Vice Mayor Penny pick up that motion as stated by our city attorney. We have a second from Commissioner Daniel. At this time, I will open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item? Yes, sir, come to the front.
Oh, boy.
And just wait a second while yes, and we are in comments here, so you will have 3 minutes unless there's an objection from the city commission. Seeing none.
Yes, my name is David Knopf, and I'm at 460 Ridgewood. The question I have is, are these, like marijuana dispensaries, licensed by the city, the state, or the county? Who are they licensed by? And by limiting the number of facilities, isn't it going to kind of be like a liquor license when you sell a liquor license? Doesn't it make it worth more money because you only have so many of them? It's like you have a license that's not worth a lot of money, but now you say there's only going to be 5 facilities, so now the guy can turn around and flip it for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Is that what you want? I don't know. That's my comment.
medical marijuana dispensaries are regulated by the state.
But
Interesting.
you can sell that license to the next doctor.
I assume you can, it's all regulated by the state.
So by limiting the supply,
The state's already done that.
I mean, but what you're doing is you're limiting the supply, so there's more demand, so they.
We are not. The state has already limited the number of medical marijuana dispensaries.
But you're saying that they can only be within a mile of each other, so.
Well, we're saying
In
we
our
have the
city.
authority.
In our city.
In our city.
So you don't want, I know you don't want 10, you don't want 6, you might only want 5. But if you only want 5 and 10 people want them, then that makes the 5 that are all available worth more money.
It hypothetically could,
You know what
but
I'm
it's
saying?
still,
But
answers.
it's not the license,
question.
it's the location.
Right, it's
It's that
still
location's
to
more
what we're
valuable.
trying to do here, yeah. Yeah.
It's okay with me, whatever you want to do.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir. You'll have 3 minutes. Do you have a timer? Okay. When Val dings the bell, I will ask you to stop talking.
What'd you say, you're gonna ring the bell?
She has a bell. She's going to time you.
Then we're gonna have round 2?
It's 3 minutes, Mr. Varga. Go ahead.
Where's the, I wanna see my,
She's keeping the
She'll
time.
give you a minute update.
well, I
2
ain't got
minutes and
you, I
1
gotta
minute.
see where you got 3 minutes.
She'll give you a 1 minute, she'll give you a
What do
1
you
minute
go-
warning. You're wasting time. Go ahead, Mr. Varga.
I'm wasting time. Marijuana and alcohol are the 2 worst drugs in America. And if you, Penny Curry, think that medical marijuana is okay,
Excuse me, just talk to me here.
if you, Chris Villa,
Yeah.
think it's okay, you got to do your homework. They're gateway drugs. They're the worst drugs in America. Just 2 weeks ago in California, a wife stabbed her husband 208 times, was high on marijuana, and got left off with probation. Go ahead, support your drugs, your alcohol next to a church, your marijuana shop next to a church. Mr. V, I guess I can't talk to the other ones. Look, this is a joke. You got yourself in your own problem with your marijuana. If you wouldn't have been so quick to let it go in like a pharmacy, you wouldn't be in the problem you're in right now. You got to do your homework ahead of time. Marijuana's a killer. Check with Colorado, check with California. See all the trouble they got and heartache they got. Get rid of it.
Thank you, Mr. Varga. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? Yes, sir. Coming up in 3 minutes for you as well, Mr. Legary.
I'll try to keep time. Jim Legary, 342 Burley. It seems to me that if there are too many of these things, they're going to go away on their own. And it seems to me that if we could get the bank remodeled, it's a good idea. Enterprise, free enterprise. It used to be the word. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Legary. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the commission tonight? Yes, sir. 3 minutes and introduce yourself.
Make
Mr.
it real
Blaze.
short. Former Commissioner Blaze, former sergeant of the Holly Hill Police Department, marijuana, fine. Let everybody smoke marijuana, have a good time. You come to Florida to have a big party. But the problem is, the people that buy that stuff can't even afford car insurance, and my car insurance go up because of these accidents. It's a multiplier effect. So you got to control it one way or the other, but you got to think about it. I have a nephew that was stuck on drugs. He's buried. He's a veteran at MIMSM. When it hits your family, because you couldn't control it, come and see me and we'll pray together. Amen, and I bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Blaze. All right. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the commission tonight? All right, I'm going to close public comments and just say that I think that some of the people that were getting loud, we are doing what you actually are asking us to do here tonight, so it's confusing, but nonetheless, you have your free speech, and we welcome you to it every single commission meeting. So with that, we have a motion and a second. Is there any need for discussion from the commission?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
I went to a symposium back when the state was originally talking about okaying medical marijuana and putting it on the ballot and going through the whole process. And I was educated during that symposium at the benefits that medical marijuana provides for many different reasons. Pain management, helps people with their depression and anxiety. It helps people with migraines and chronic headaches. There are so many things. Weren't you at that symposium? I thought you were. There were so many things that opened my eyes at the symposium, maybe researched by others through some, I'd say, websites that are maybe a little more reliable for their information. You'd find out that medical marijuana is not a gateway drug. It doesn't kill people. The other drugs do. But medical marijuana, there has been scientific data that it is not a gateway drug. It benefits people. And they're screaming to allow them to do more research to see what other things that it benefits. So I understand what we're doing up here. I just don't like all the false information that is put out. So I do support our moratorium only so we can discuss it, because my thoughts on the medical marijuana part are pretty known. It's the CBD places that I don't really appreciate, but that's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any further discussions? All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor for the moratorium signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion carries 4-0. And I did not expect that to be so lively, so I apologize, Commission.
That's all right.
The meeting ended
Thought
an
it was
hour
gonna be
ago. We were making comments for an hour.
I know, I thought it was going to be a quick sidebar. So, okay, so we did that. I wanted to, well, let me go to a positive really quickly, since to lift us back up. And I believe, is it Heidi, are you helping with the cleanup tomorrow? That's right. Thank you so much for stepping up and doing that. I know that you were the one that came to our workshop at the park and mentioned the idea to get rid of those Brazilian pepper plants. So we don't want to get rid of you, Heidi. The meetings that you're not here, we ask, where's Heidi? So it's very, very rare. But
Meeting. There's only
yeah,
one.
the
There's only one.
That's true. So, hey, thank you for what you're doing. I just wanted to point that out as a positive note, and appreciate that. And sorry to our vice mayor for showing up too early for the cleanup.
Put it on my calendar wrong.
Hopefully, give you there tomorrow. I intend to be there a little bit later and come to be there. So, the last thing, or actually two things that I wanted to bring up to the commission. In particular, we have citizens here that brought it up today, so I'm going to go to this one first, which is on Flomish Avenue, and I don't know how familiar you guys are with the property. There's a property that, there's a house right on Flomish Avenue, probably 15 feet off of the street from where the kids walk on the sidewalk every single day to and from school. I pass it 4 or 5 times a day as I live off of Anniston, right on Flomish. And what has happened is the owner passed away. The daughter was kind of in control there, but didn't own the property, and allowed some people to come in, and they were allegedly using drugs in there. She ended up dying. I heard it was from an overdose. I don't know if that's true. Chief is saying yes to that. And so then these squatters kind of just stayed there. And so staff has been well aware of this issue. It's gone through code enforcement. Our law enforcement is on it day and night and working their tail off over there. But as we know, perception is 9/10 of reality. And a lot of what we do, especially in law enforcement, is not seen or advertised necessarily, especially if it's undercover. And so a lot of the citizens in that neighborhood are upset about the house, and rightfully so upset about the house. This house, when I explain it to you, I don't think you guys would even want to walk into the building. It doesn't look at all safe. There's no electricity, there's no running water. In fact, they were running an extension cord from across the street. Is that Montgomery? Is that the street it's on, Flemish and Montgomery?
That's what he said
Chief,
earlier.
is it Montgomery? Yeah. So they ran an extension line across Montgomery to be able to have that. And so our city manager himself went down and actually kind of had some words with these people, and they agreed to take it out, at least take that out, and to clean up the property. And it really doesn't happen. All times of day, if you drive by it, there's people outside of the house, laying in the yard, half-dressed people that are standing there. And here's why I bring it up tonight, is, let me first say that staff and the city is doing everything they can in their legal power to move forward with rectifying this home. It is in foreclosure, and the bank is moving forward with that foreclosure. The city's hands are kind of tied. There's something that's called squatters' rights, and I know that's absolutely ridiculous, and I disagree with it. It is state law, and we cannot forcibly go onto the property to remove these people like I wish that we could instantly. But so here's my concern, and why I wanted to bring it up tonight, is allegedly these people are using drugs, and from my own opinion, seeing these people and seeing the way that they are out in front of the house, it's my opinion that they are. And my fear is that one needle gets dropped 5 feet from the sidewalk. And if you saw the amount of kids that walk down Flomish every single day, twice a day, from and to school, if one of those kids steps on one of those, and God forbid it had fentanyl, and God forbid they went to the hospital, or even worse, I don't want to even contemplate that.
If it has fentanyl, they're not going to make it to the hospital.
And I agree with you. What I mean is that I'm thinking worst case scenario, but if that were to happen, I think that we need to expend everything that we possibly can legally to move forward with trying to rectify this house. My fear is that the foreclosure process could be next week, and suddenly they kick these people out. But my fear is that it could go much longer than that. Meanwhile, we have neighbors who are complaining every single day. I don't know if you guys are getting the emails and the calls about it. I know it's in my neighborhood, so people see me out and they talk to me. But it is something that staff has talked over and over about. You have visited the property about. There's not an easy solution, but
Why can't we do the same thing to that home?
that's where I'm going.
Okay.
That's where I'm going. And, so I just believe that we could have some tools in the toolbox, and I wanted to talk to the commission to ask staff if we could take a look at some of those. And one of them, as I talked to Mr. Walker about this, is to declare the property a nuisance. And just as another property I'm going to talk about in 1 second, I believe it's an unsafe environment. I believe it is unsafe. I believe it is too close to that road with too many kids walking to and from school every single day. And I don't feel I would be doing my duty as mayor to stand here and let that happen unless we go through every single legal remedy that we possibly could. So the question is tonight is, could we declare that a nuisance, be able to move on to the property, and actually my intent on Flomish, right across the street from it, when our building official, I think it was, went into the structure, determined that it should be condemned, and it was the same situation that we have here, where the person that owned it died. The daughter took it over, invited all of her friends in. They had a camp in the backyard, no electricity. It was a horrible place. I believe there was an overdose there. So cops went into the property. It was horrendous. We condemned it. We demolished it, and now there's a brand new house built right there that is for sale on Flomish. It would be my intent to try to do the same thing. I know, there could be some differences. But Scott, am I saying anything that is out of bounds off the top of your head? I didn't talk to you about this prior off the top of your head. Is there anything more
Talk
that
to me
we...
about medical marijuana either.
That's true. I didn't think that one was going to go so far as it did, but...
The one issue with this one is, obviously, you mentioned that there's a foreclosure pending. So we would have to, we could go through, if staff goes out there, inspects, and they find it to be a sanitary nuisance like we see other properties, that they can, has it been through code enforcement, Brian, this property? Yeah, it's already been through code enforcement. So what we can do is, and it's, if the owner died and it's not homestead, in theory, we could go forward and try to collect our lien on it, but the bank's already doing that, and we'd take subject to the bank anyway. But we could go and do a cleanup where we go on there and try to do a cleanup. I don't know if any probate estate has been opened in this case or not, but we could come back and similar to the lady that we had that was the pack rat lady, had all that stuff. And we could do the same type of thing, going on there and cleaning it up, but that's going to be a one-time cleaning. See, with her situation, she had an accumulation of a bunch of stuff that, we could haul off, and hopefully she wouldn't put it back. The things that you're talking about, we could clean it up, and the very next day, it could be right back again. So it's a little different situation in that way. Do we know this? I can also check to see what the status of the foreclosure is. If the person's deceased, I assume there can't be much of a defense put up to the foreclosure. So they hopefully that what will happen is they'll get a judgment, then they go through a foreclosure sale, and.
Yes, please do, yes. I know you have a lot of information on this property. For the record, our police.
Yes, Chief Jeff Miller, thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. So I've been dealing with this property for about a year now. I've talked to the council that's located in South Florida that is representing the mortgage company several times. The problem with this property is that you are right, Mr. Bunch died. He left it to one of his daughters. She died, and then there was no will. And so the mortgage company, he was already behind in the mortgage. He has several heirs. So they had to locate those several heirs. Even though there is no will, the foreclosure company has to do their due diligence, the attorney. Then it had to go to a guardian ad litem, so to say, to find those heirs. Everybody was given a 40-day summons. A lot of them, there's like 8 or 9 of them on the clerk. I've talked to the attorney several times. The last one is coming up, I think, is a 20-day summons that's about to expire. They know about the overdose. That is not going to do anything to their case as far as speed it up in the courts. So they know about everything that is going on there, and they're doing all that they can do. The problem is, we're the heirs. There's too many. There was like 8 or 9 of them. As far as the law enforcement side, we're hitting it the best that we can. I'm going to be completely transparent. I can't sit a car out there 24/7 unless you direct the city manager to do that, and then I will do that. We've run an operation last week. We arrested 3 people. 2 of them were for drugs. 1 of them was for a warrant. And, they have exercised their rights and made it very clear that we are not to come on their property. We cannot come on their property unless there's a life safety issue, which means we get a medical call there. So a couple of them do know their rights there. I'm sitting outside there personally, as you have seen me. I sit out there and I put my lights on. But as far as a patrol unit, I can't put one out there 24/7 unless you direct the city manager to do that. And then, but we're doing the best. I have units out there right now. I have 4 units out there undercover right now. So.
Yes, Commissioner.
Chief, can't we implore the council to do evictions on all those people that are there? Get it boarded up like we did the motels on Ridgewood?
So that's.
They're not the property owner, that's the problem.
Right.
Say that again.
But are they not representing the foreclosure of the property?
They're representing the bank, which is a lien holder. They cannot foreclose until they become the owner.
And that's exactly what he said. They can't enter the property. They can't do anything to the property. Mr. Connell.
Jeez.
Given where this is at, this is a solution I came up to with one other city, where we had very similar situation. Someone died, all these people were in their drug house, flop house. The heir, in this case there was only one heir, said, I don't want anything to do with this. Just leave me out of this. We had the heir, we have liens as a creditor. We can petition to open an estate. And we had the lien hold, the one heir, and here we got a bunch of heirs, so it might be a little harder, because you got to get everybody to sign on these petitions and serve them through the state process. They consented to, I can't remember if it was the city, it may have been the city being the personal representative. Once you become personal representative, you are as if you're the owner. And we put up a trespassing sign, the cops were able to go in to move everybody out, we cleaned up the property, and then we sold it as the personal representative of the estate. And that was one way we were able to deal with that.
How long did that take?
It takes several months to go
Right.
through the
We don't wanna
process.
wait several
Yeah,
months.
but it's, because you gotta, and here it might take longer because you're dealing with a whole bunch of heirs, and you've got, presumably there's no will, so there's a process you have to go through probate to get appointed, and you try to get the consent of all the heirs to proceed. The one we did in South Daytona, we just had one heir, and that was easy, and we convinced them, look, we're gonna go for it, it's not gonna cost you any money. We just need to be able to step up as the owner, as the personal representative, and then clear this property out, put no trespassing signs up, and then the police can rely on the city's representations to have people removed. But until that happens, there's probably no estate going, and until the bank becomes the owner, they don't have any control over the property.
One of the heirs can't help us out?
They're not an owner either.
No. So to speak on that, what also is one of the heirs had adopted children. So they are actually entitled, now this is according to the attorney in South Florida, they actually have a right to the property. Nobody wants anything to do with it. According to Mr. Connell, it is coming to the end. The summons are almost up. So they'll be taking the next steps. They know, we've been in communication, you guys do what you want, you're the commission, but I think that way is going to start the process over again, and good luck finding all the heirs, because the guardian ad litem, who's out of Daytona, her name escapes me right now, but it took them forever. And that's the holdup here. We could have done this months ago of shut this place down. But it's the heirs and contacting, there's several out of state, then the adopted children, finding them. So we're on it, and I would not want this in my neighborhood either. So I get it, Mr. Mayor, I get it. Mr. Moon, is it? Yes. Yep, I get it. But we are doing, trust me, I am on this. I almost know the court case number by heart now. 2023 62328, CI, I've been on it so much, it's right around there. But I just ask for a little bit more patience. I get what you're saying, but starting any court proceedings, and I'm not an attorney, I strongly feel that that's going to hold this process up that is almost done.
Chris, I just want to say, you know, how you're worried about the sidewalk and all that. You know, you see those orange temporary type plastic fences and all that? Couldn't we do something just to keep kids from stepping off?
Put it in the right of way, that's our property.
That would be...
Yeah, I don't know who would be. I'm just saying something temporarily to kind of maybe ease a little
You
bit.
know, I could tell you, I sit out on the property a lot, and I'm not going to say it's going to happen because it could be put in the trash and then it gets kicked over, but, you know, they know we're watching them. I don't think anybody's going to be doing, intravenous drugs out in the open, but, you know, it could get in the trash and then fall out. So I get the point of the kids. I don't have an answer for that right now as far as making sure of the syringes, but.
That's my number one fear.
Yeah, I get
Secondary
it, yeah.
is the
A lot of
house
kids do go on that street. Go to
So,
Charleston.
thank you for that input.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
And for the record,
Yeah.
the city manager did tell me to talk to you afterwards as
Yeah.
you have more information
I've
than
been
even
on
he
it.
does. So, and let me just say publicly too, I appreciate what you do. I saw the comments online.
Yeah.
I defended you as much as I could
Yeah, we have
without
thick
giving away
skin. Thank you.
information. But you were doing a great job, and I personally saw you out there whipping the streets the other day, and I really appreciate what you're doing out there to do that, because it's a huge concern of mine. So
yeah, thank you.
then if your recommendation is to wait on this mortgage procedure, that it's coming through more imminently than I was, thinking, or worst case scenario.
Well,
Then-
the only thing I could tell you on the other, on the other one like we did on Aniston, like that, that's something you guys can explore because that, to my knowledge, doesn't have to go through the mortgage company. But again, Mr. Connell, they are working on it. Again, it's not sitting on a desk on a 12-story law office. They're on it. And I have a cell phone. I have a cell phone number.
Does it help if we let the judge on the case know?
No,
that-
yeah, I offered to send him the overdose case where the young lady died, and it said it doesn't matter on a foreclosure.
Okay,
When you're talking about a foreclosure, it has no bearing on it.
okay.
Well,
Commissioner?
Mayor, could we go ahead and move forward, or I guess, Scott, you can tell me, can we move forward with the same thing we did recently with cleaning up the property?
We can. I don't know if, is this one I recently did a title search on? Can't remember.
We'd have to do another one.
Yeah, we
It's
might have to
been a
do
while.
another title search on it, and we'd have to send notices out, obviously to the bank, since they're interested in foreclosing, that we are going to do,
Well, it's not gonna
sanitary-
start his process all over again.
No.
Okay.
When you say his, you mean talking about the
Well, I'm talking about what
foreclosure?
he's- yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to start that process over. That would just give, it's a process by which we have the authorization to go on the property and start cleaning it
Mayor,
up.
I mean, that's all we have right
but-
now. I would use it.
Yeah, and then you got, we have demolished structures before, but you got the issue that you have people residing there.
Right.
So how do we get them out?
Right.
Well, if we condemn it,
And so I'm not 100% sure, but I think Mr. Ricky Lee condemned it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to think that condemning a building meant it was a crime to enter.
No, it
the
is
prop-
not.
It's not a crime.
Correct, it is not.
So-
I was just answering
Yeah.
a question.
So it's condemned.
so if we condemn it, we can't have them removed?
We may have-
Out of a
we-
condemned building?
We may have to go to court to get a court authorization, but we can't, it's not a crime.
Correct.
But if it was a crime, police could handle it. It's not a crime.
So
Scott,
crazy.
once the bank forecloses, and it sounds like foreclosure is
Squatters.
sooner than later, the bank is going to clean this property up. The bank is going
absolutely.
to evict those people.
Well, what's going to happen is going to be, go through a foreclosure sale.
Right.
And somebody or some entity will become the owner.
And then they'll
And then they'll
evict
have
everyone.
to.
And then they will, they will come in and clean up everything. We are probably named as a defendant
We are.
in the lawsuit.
We are.
We are. So our lien goes away.
Yep.
When they foreclose. We would presumably give the new owner a little bit of time, and we would start code enforcement again on the new owner.
Yeah, so just so you also, this happened on Bainbridge. We helped the one on Bainbridge, 242 Bainbridge. We helped them, Deputy Curry helped us also speed the process up.
Oh, I remember
Yeah,
that.
we're getting good at this. It's just the heirs are the one that held this up. This would already been done months ago if it wasn't for all the heirs.
Well, thank you for that input, Chief.
Yeah.
Very, very valuable.
welcome.
Appreciate you stepping
And
in.
like you said, most people are not aware. I mean, we're not even aware of some of it.
All of it, yeah.
And it's very frustrating, and I understand it's very, very frustrating for the people that live around there. And I wish we
and-
could do more than what we're able to. Our hands are tied.
Or it takes a long time to untie our hands.
Well,
There's a step to
unfortunately,
the process.
government does not work fast.
Yeah.
That is true.
And where they're at, I doubt anybody was going to file an answer. So it's just a matter of getting everybody served with a foreclosure complaint, letting the
Well,
time
it-
period run, the 20 days, whatever the period, then they'll get the defaults, and then they'll go forward with getting a final judgment and the foreclosure sale. And that's probably, from the point we're at right now, that's probably the quickest thing
Okay.
to resolve.
And I know you're going to stay on top of it, Chief, so
Yeah.
thank you.
And we could also obviously bring back authorization to go on and start cleaning up the property. That's something we could do. Demolishing the property, a little different situation. Because you got occupants and you got a bank who's foreclosing who, that is their collateral. So,
Well, I'm just glad now, as a commission, we all could talk about it. We're obviously on the same page. I want to place that in staff's hands. I don't have any direction for them right now. So if they come up with something better, they can bring it up to us. We could talk to them individually too, as we think through this. And right now, Chief, thank you for going through that process. In a similar vein, I'll try to make this one quicker, is that we passed a PUD over a year ago on Flomish and Nova for a car wash, which was that old gas station.
The snow cone place or ice cream or
That's
something.
right. And so I told Mr. Forte and Mr. Walker we would bring this up. It's the same situation. If anyone is unfamiliar with it, it is an old dilapidated gas station that is literally falling down. Some of the siding of the building is falling apart. It's a horrendous looking location. This is, believe it or not, I get a lot of complaints. Probably the most complaints I've gotten is about this property, believe it or not, right on the corner there. It's value property. So what we did when we did this is we reduced the liens that were on the property, and they were supposed to go in and they were supposed to make this beautiful new car wash, great taxable value, good use for that location there. And lo and behold, they went through with this, and then they found a location, as I understand it, in Ormond Beach that seemed a little nicer, so they sped that process up, developed that, and just kind of put us on the back burner. Meanwhile, city staff gave them all the time in the world, was literally beyond nice of what we could have been to them, and let them go through the process a little bit longer. And then when I started getting complaints, I started complaining to the city manager started complaining to staff. Now we started a process, and then through that process, and Mr. Walker, you could speak to this more if I'm not characterizing it correctly, but they have been combative, and they have been unappreciative of the help that you were trying to give them and to encourage them to actually get this property developed, but also, in the meantime of developed, get it in compliance. It is a scourge. It is one of the worst looking commercial properties that we have in our city on a prime location. And so, once again, my fear here is with the walls starting to deteriorate and come down, the property owner not wanting to work with us, and in fact now, just a few weeks ago, said, you know what, we're putting this up for sale. I believe there's $80,000 worth of liens on it right now, roughly, and yeah, Mr. Walker says yes. So what I've talked to you about is declaring this a nuisance and potentially having this building condemned. We can bring down the property ourselves. These people, and what would you like to add to this conversation that you shared with me to the commission about the relationship and how this has transpired?
Well, despite our efforts to give them the time and the help to bring the property into compliance, they have instead said that we are the reason that they have not been able to beautify the project, beautify the property, that code enforcement has put obstacles in their path, and that their desire is to be able to bring a showpiece to the city. But their conduct has been completely contrary to what I've been hearing, what they tell me, and then when they put the property up for sale, that would seem to betray the fact that they're not planning on doing anything with the property. So they've been given time to demolish the building. That hasn't happened. They have taken steps in the past to cut the lawn on the Flomich property, so that the grass wasn't as high, but they felt that the homeless problem on their property was something that was somehow caused by us. And so I told them, no, it's the fact that the property has a dilapidated building that provides shelter and shade for the homeless, and you have grass that really hides and gives them privacy. So right now, they're accumulating liens at about $1,000 a day. Soon, if this goes on, the amount of the liens will exceed the value of the property. So one of the things that we can do is we can go through, well, even with maybe prior to the foreclosure process, is we have a judgment. The code enforcement special magistrate's decision is a judgment. So we could move to collect on that judgment, as we're doing with a couple of the hotels along Ridgewood, and Scott can correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right.
Or I don't see a reason why we can't use the ordinance that we have for demolishing a property that's been declared a nuisance, why we can't use that to at least demolish the property. So I can bring back to back to the special magistrate, the question of, we want to be able to demolish this, however, we need a ruling of same from the city commission, bring it to the city commission. If you say that that's what you want done, then we can move forward with that process of at least getting the building demolished. And that would stop that portion of the daily fines. So the property would then be technically in compliance, except for any trash or grass issues.
And we could take the cost of demolition, obviously lien the property, but we could also put it on the tax bill
The non-ad valorem taxes.
under our non-ad valorem assessment.
Mayor, I could support that.
Okay, so in order to do that, what would we need to do? We would just have staff bring us back something to the next commission meeting, or would that have to go to the vote?
No, the next step would be, it would go to the special magistrate. We would ask that the special magistrate declare that the property is a nuisance and that it should be demolished, and give us permission to demolish it, give staff permission to demolish it pending a ruling of same from the city commission. Then I would bring it to this commission and say, this is what the special master has ruled, and we would like you to find that the property is a nuisance. And if they, at that time, you are required to give them additional time. Doesn't say how much, maybe 30 days, 60 days, but you give them additional time to demolish the property. You say, hey, if you don't demolish it, then we're going to order it demolished. If that time period expires, then we would hire a company, get it demolished, get it cleaned up, take that money and get it on the non-ad valorem taxes as an assessment.
My only caution would be to make sure that the tanks are all gone in case it's way
I believe
of a
they-
pricey
Yeah.
cleanup.
I believe they are. I would double check on that because you're absolutely right, Mayor. That could open up a can of worms. But I do believe that the tanks are gone. I think that's something that they checked into
Yeah.
before they purchased it. But I will double check
Okay.
on that.
Yeah, because other than that, I'd like to see that come back to us. We don't need to take a vote on that tonight, but just wanted to bring it up if there's any objection. All right, seeing no objection.
We'll take it to special master then.
That's good. And lastly, several months ago, and I've talked to Mr. Forte about this one for probably about a year now. I'm the only one up here that's terming out, and I promise I'll make this one short, John. I see you look like you have a headache. But I'm terming out, and I think, Mr. Daniel, you were the one to originally bring it up about commission pay. So commission pay hasn't changed since 2001. It's been set in stone, and the mayor's position pays $12,000 a year, which in 2001 was a lot different than it is today, and commissions pays $8,000 a year. Once again, in 2001, very different. Just to be fully transparent, my job, and this is not about me as I'm terming out, but I am looking towards the future of other commissions. Each year, I make a little bit less because of taxes and because of specifically our health insurance that has been going up. And so my end paycheck, I pay for my family's insurance through the city. My paycheck as mayor of the city of Holly Hill is $49.77. $49. So I get a tank of gas a month, and I get family insurance, and I'm grateful for that. I'm privileged for that. I'm privileged that I can sit in this seat. I can devote the amount of hours, the amount of time, the amount of brain power. As you all know, at 2 a.m. when you come up with a good idea and you have to put it in your notes or go through hundreds of pages of packets, obviously every time you go to a grocery store, you run into people. If you go outside to cut your lawn, you're going to have to budget in an extra hour because people are going to stop and talk to you about some stuff that they want answers to. So at the end of the day, this is a service, and that is why I signed up for this. That is why I've done that. But also, we need to address the lack of appeal for running for office. We heard tonight someone get up to say that we needed 2-year terms back, and we needed an election every 2 years. Well, the good news is we do have an election every 2 years, and that the city is stable. And I like to think that we are doing a good job. I think that we collectively have done a good job. Sometimes we disagree on things, but the collective work of this commission, along with our wonderful staff, has been able to move this city forward in the right direction. I want to make sure that we can bring in talent and incentivize people to come and to do this job, because we know how hard it is. And so as I leave and I look at one of those issues, people ask me all the time, why aren't there more young professionals serving in elected office? It must be because they don't care. I can tell you it's not because they don't care. All of my friends care. It's that they have to, and I should be, going to work and not able to have a schedule like we have been blessed with, all of us up here. You either have to be retired, a millionaire, or a business owner, or all three, and to be able to do this job. So, the reality is if I wasn't terming out, and I was looking at the ability to run for office again after this November, my wife would really talk to me about, can we be able to do this? Because of the amount of time and hours that I put into it for $49.77 every 2 weeks. Now, I don't want to make this about me, because it's not, but I'm using it as an example, and I know each of you have an example. Obviously, you make less than I do. But the point is that I think in 2001, when it was set at $12,000 and $8,000 for commission, I think that, obviously if you look at inflation, that amount has doubled. Now, I'm not saying that is what this position should pay. And just to throw it out, what I'm thinking is I think that the mayor should make more in line of $16,000 a year, and the commission make $12,000 or $13,000 a year. And so if we, and I know this is an awkward situation for all of you, we could set it however you want to take place next year. We could do it with the next commission, however this body would like to do it. But what I would suggest is that whatever we do, we tie to the state. There's a state calculation of what a county commission should make. And so from that, the county commission here actually takes a lesser percentage of that. But we could tie it to that and say the mayor makes 15% of what the state says that we should make, and the commission makes 12% of that. And it would equal out to about the numbers that I was talking about. But what happens with that state calculation is every year the state has a committee and staff to go through and to field recommendation of what that pay should be for that county, particularly our county of Volusia. And they take into account CPI, they take into account statewide employees and what's the percentage increase that they are getting, and then they adjust that. So the point to that is that in 20 years from now, it's been 20 years since it's been changed, in 20 years from now, it won't be what we set it today, but it will be equivalent and keep up with, what it is. So that's where I'm at. The other thing that I want to do is look for ways to appeal to more younger people to be able to get into office. And meaning, I would like the city to pay for the insurance for up to the family of commissioner or the mayor. So that plus tying the percentage to the actual state, I think is a fair balance. I think that is a fair compensation. It's not much, and it doesn't raise the budget much at all. You're talking, a matter of $20,000 in a $35 million budget. But I think that it's fair across the board. And so the reason I bring it up tonight, and I know it's awkward a little bit for everyone, because it's easier for me to talk about it because saying, hey, it's after this term. So it's a little bit easier, but I think that, and by the way, sidebar, I spoke to my dad about this, who, was here during a lot of that time, and the intent was never, I know some of you pay the city every single month, I know John Penny, you do, and that was never the intent. So, and we don't get allowance for gas money, we don't get cell phone allowance, we don't get the beeper allowance that they used to get, we don't get any of those things. So that's what I would propose, but what I would say is, I would ask this commission if we could ask that staff prepare something like that for us to bring back at a future meeting, and we could all take a look at it then. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, I have to agree with you, and I'm just a little behind you. I'm done in 2 years, well, 2.5. I'm not running again in 26. I think everybody probably knows that. So I agree. I mean, I've made the same thing since 2012, and my bills keep going up, but my money I receive from the city does not. And I never got into this to be rich. That's why I never got into law enforcement, to be rich, because the service industry, you're not going to be rich. But I feel for future, for us to be able to get people into these seats, it's going to require that they receive a fair wage for their time. It's not just time up here, phone calls, text messages. People even give text messages now, email, just everything we have to deal with all the time. Or like you say, if I'm shopping at Publix, chances are my shopping trip is going to be a little longer because there's always people that see me in there that want to talk, and I don't have a problem with that. But for future commissions, I agree. So I'm not really worried too much about myself. I'm done soon. But for this community to be able to keep moving in this positive direction, this positive wave that we have all been a part of, I really think that something needs to be done, and I think that's a fair way to do it.
Good. Thanks. I've given it a lot of thought. I've gone over this a million times, try to make it fair. So then, do we have consensus to have Ms.
Bring it up at a
Forte-
workshop rather than have staff bring it up.
We can, but I mean, unless there's a difference in opinion of how to peg it, I mean, I think the most fair way is to do it based on the state, as opposed to us saying.
I think the formula is the correct way to go.
Yeah.
I just don't know, is it 12.5% of that formula, is it 10%? I don't know what those numbers are.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
why it might be helpful at a workshop to come up with that number.
Okay,
'Cause
yeah.
I know
I'm
Daytona
open
was
to
looking
a
at doing
workshop.
that based on the county. They were like gonna do 75%, which was, if we did 25% of what the county's number is.
Right.
It's a huge increase for us.
Right.
Daytona was looking at 75% of that number, which is
Right.
crazy.
Right. And another one that does it that way too is New Smyrna. And so I thought of pegging it too directly to the county. The problem is with the county is the unforeseen.
They can change theirs.
They can change theirs. So first off, it's in the charter, so there has to be a charter amendment voted on by the people. I don't see the people voting for a county council input because they do make quite a bit of money for their time. But if you said, for instance, the numbers equal out the same, if you said 25% of what the chairman makes is what the mayor would make, that's about $16,000. It's the same if you say 15% with the state.
state level.
But here's the difference. If we say 25% of the chairman, and suddenly in 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, when there's a charter review, if we get rid of our charter and go back to just a state council-run commission, then they would get paid 100% of what the state is saying, and then we'd make 25% of that. The commission would, and then that would actually double.
I follow you.
So my thought is if we just peg it straight to what the state is, there's no uncertainty of it changing from the county council perspective.
Got it.
So, I mean, what I would do, I encourage you to talk to Joe, because I've talked to Joe a lot about different ways to do it, make it fair across the board, and then to be able to allow for future talent to come and want to sit here, but also be properly, compensated for their time. I know none of us did it for the money, obviously, we're sitting up here, so, like, that's not what this is about in any way, but for the future, I think if it's not addressed now, it's hard for a commission to address it.
Yeah.
If I was first
Well-
elected, I couldn't vote for this, you know,
Capers tried to mention it many times.
when he was going out of office.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, so what I would say is get with Joe and, you know, and then if we need to workshop some stuff, then we can, but in the meantime, we can have that consensus. All right, let's go there, and then that's all I have. Wow, I'm done. This is the longest comments ever. I'm so sorry.
I don't
didn't
want to
intend it that
ever
way.
hear anything about me.
We were good. I got it all out. All right, Vice Mayor.
What's that Val tell us about her Easter egg hunt?
I thought he was going to.
Oh, I should have. I'm sorry. You do it. I've talked too much.
Well, next Saturday at 10 is the Easter egg, 21st annual Easter egg event at the front lawn from 10 to 12.
God, is that already? You got an Easter bunny?
My daughter's going to do
I
it.
thought, okay.
I brought her one.
Yeah.
21st. I was at the very first one at Hollyland Park. So I caught the golden egg. My
Did you?
my dad probably dropped it like right before I
Yeah.
I mean,
There's son.
Dad, if you're listening. All right, Vice Mayor, floor is yours.
No, just come out and help us, help the school with that fundraiser we're going to try to do. We're going to need volunteers to read June and July to the kids, and then we need to raise some money to be able to do it. So hopefully by next meeting, I'll have the flyers prepared and Eventbrite, is that right?
Yeah.
We're having an Eventbrite thing where you can sign up, and I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's in the motion. It's going along, so thank you.
All right, Mrs. Curry?
Thank you. I have a couple questions for you on that stuff. For the fundraiser at Copper Bottom, if we're not going to be in town, because I'm going up to see
You can
my
still send me the money.
grandkids, I can still send you, okay.
Name on the shirt.
Do you want me to give you the check, or?
We're going to make it out to the Seabreeze Kiwanis Club.
Okay.
So.
I'll get with you later
Okay.
about the check. And then, as far as the reading, are they going to have a way to sign up for that?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That's, you have to be background checked and everything. That's going through the
I don't think that's going to be a
Early
problem.
Learning Coalition and all that
I've had
stuff.
to do background checks before.
Been through a few
Yeah.
elections.
And I just want to say real quick, I appreciate our finance department. They did an outstanding job. I appreciate you meeting with us ahead of time. And I also want to mention about Mr. Vogus. God, what a great principal for our school. That guy, I mean, I've just been impressed with him since he came. I always see how involved he is with those kids. Pictures where he'll incentivize them to read and stuff, and then they get to throw water balloons at him. And, I mean, he really is invested with our children. And I think we need to implore the school board to leave him alone.
To that point, he's a secondary educator, and he said it tonight, and we will not have a secondary program. And his fear, and everyone that's involved with the school's fear, is that they will move him. He's got 3 to 5 years left in his career. He wants to retire here. And what's happened with our school is that we get some momentum going. We have a principal here for 2 years, and they move him to Ormond.
And that's my fear.
And that's, so if you meet your county council or your school board members, tell them to leave him the heck alone.
Yeah. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that they had so many grades.
Mayor, do
They won't
you
have that.
think that maybe it would help if a letter was sent on our behalf by you?
I
or-
don't know, and I don't want to step on toes yet.
So we need to ask Joe.
Yeah, maybe we could ask, and we could ask our Carl Persis.
You know one of the best places to have those conversations
Where's that?
is the Volusia League of Cities dinners, because the school board is now a member, and they come, and there's a dinner
In Orange
next week,
City.
right, in Orange City. Well, I'm going. Virginia. I'm going, I told you, right?
I'm not going.
Yeah, I did, I emailed you. You said you would do it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not going.
So, and I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
your
no, no,
time,
you're good. I'm
but-
done.
But